Hi everybody! Welcome back to another painting tutorial. My name is Erin, known as erinbunpaints here on YouTube and here on Twitch. I'm currently live streaming on Twitch. Today, if you haven't been to one of my tutorials before, the idea is I'm going to walk you step by step through this design that you see on my left here. I don't have a name for it, I usually don't, but I'm just calling it kind of the ripple painting. The main idea of this painting is creating a nice scene of ripples on a water surface. A couple leaves have fallen. You can see some nice branches and trees kind of reflecting in the water surface. And I'm going to teach it to you all step by step over about a 2-hour period. So the idea is I'm actually going to switch you to this scene here where you can see my painting live in person with me. And I'm actually going to paint it along with you, okay? So I'm actually going to move this down here for my own reference. You can all see that I have a digital image above me. This is the same painting, just a quick picture of it. And instead you'll have a nice main view of my blank canvas, which again I'm going to paint along with you step by step, so that way you can see exactly what I'm doing. I'll still verbally describe what I'm doing as well, but it definitely helps to kind of see things as they go on the canvas, one thing at a time. So that's the idea. Those who are joining me live on Twitch right now, feel free to use the chat to ask me any questions, say any comments. If you need any help with anything specific, you need me to repeat anything, I can absolutely do that for you. Those on YouTube, unfortunately we don't have the live aspect, but you can obviously comment if you have any questions or just reach out to me via social media. I am erinbunpaints pretty much everywhere. Yeah, feel free to get in contact with me if you need to. Celia, welcome in. I appreciate the raid. Just doing a quick little introduction to my tutorial, and then I'll say a quick hello to you, okay? Alright, so things you need to know. I think I said already that should be about 2 hours, give or take. We kind of go with the flow here, so we'll see how that goes, but I would expect about 2 hours. In terms of supplies, you can see I have a nice canvas here. If anyone wants to know the size, it is a 16 by 20. I stick exclusively to 16 by 20s, either portrait orientation, which is today's orientation, or landscape orientation. You can of course change this up if you like. I encourage you to use whatever you have, or if you have a different vision for the painting, obviously switch it up as you like. But I'm using the 16 by 20. In terms of paint colors, I'll be using 5 different paint colors, and once again I usually stick to those exact same 5 paint colors. I use red, yellow, blue, phthalo blue specifically, and then black and white. And black and white is more so for like the shading of things, some highlights, some shadows, things like that. In terms of paintbrushes, once again I stick to the same 3. You can see I have this larger flat brush right here, so that's a brush that has all the bristles kind of lining up in a nice lineup here for nice thin lines and some nice big brush strokes. I have this medium round brush, so all the bristles kind of come to a point at the end. And then I have a small round brush, so that's a little teeny tiny guy. Again, all the bristles come to a point. This is just for like tiny little details or things you want to clean up right at the end. I find with these 3 paintbrushes I could do mostly everything, but of course if you have paintbrushes you enjoy or you think you're going to want to use, feel free to keep those handy and use them as you please. These are all just recommendations that I'm giving you here. That was paint colors, canvas. Everything else I have beside me include a cup of paint water, of course, to wash off your paintbrush, clean it off between colors. I have some paper towel, same thing, to kind of clean off your paintbrush when you need it. And I do recommend wearing something that you don't mind getting a little paint on. So I'm wearing clothes that already have paint all over them. Just know that acrylic paint, it can wash out, but it's a little bit difficult to wash out. So I just wouldn't wear like your favorite sweater while you're painting. Either cover up or change into something that you don't mind getting a little messy in. And I think that's all the supplies. Yeah, I think that's about it for the intro. So I'm just going to do a quick little cheers with everybody and then we'll begin painting. Okay, so having another look at this painting, I always like to just bring it up and talk about it a tiny bit before touching my brush to the canvas. I'm just delaying as much as possible, hee. We're going to start with just the background, of course, the background in this painting being this really nice light blue. So we're pretty much going to cover the entire canvas in light blue. We don't need to worry about what stroke we're doing or anything, we're just doing a quick little layer. Then I start to stack on all of these nice greens. I have these kind of I would call them muted greens. They're not like super bright. They're not like a grass green or anything like that. We start with darker greens and then we'll make them a little bit lighter and a little bit muted, kind of stacking on top for some highlights and for some depth within the trees. After that, we're going to get into our ripples. So we're going to take our light blue, our green, we're going to swirl them together a little bit. I'll go nice and slow during that process to really help you understand what I do to get this ripple effect. And then, of course, we'll finish off with our 2 leaves here. I first do a layer of white for the leaves to make sure we get a nice bright topping of yellow and orange on top. And of course, if I didn't say it before, change anything you like about that process. If you want different leaf colors, if you want different colors in your tree, maybe you want blossoms instead, there's so many ways to customize. I encourage you to do whatever you like. These are just ideas for you and, again, suggestions for you to follow along with. All right, no more delaying. Let's go. I'm going to start with our big brush, as I almost always do. Again, this is a large flat brush. I'm first going to dip it in my water, which is just water right now, but it will become paint water momentarily. I'm going to go to my plate and I'm going to mix together lots of white with just a little bit of blue. Again, I like to use phthalo blue specifically. It's a very, very bright, vibrant blue, but you can use whatever blue you like. I always just mention that because I know some people notice differences in their blue, right? They'll say, why is my blue a little different? It's probably because it's not phthalo blue specifically. And again, that's okay. It's just going to look a wee bit different than mine. I'm going to do vertical strokes. Why the heck not? Usually we do horizontal strokes kind of back and forth. Today I'll do some vertical ones. So I'm just going up and down the canvas with my light blue paint. You can really blob it on the brush and then really spread it around. And like I said, I'm covering the whole thing, so you can be nice and messy with this. We don't need to worry about staying within any lines or anything like that. We're just covering the whole dang thing. As I grab paint, I'm also dipping a little into my water, and that's just helping it spread a little bit easier. Dipping in the water isn't a really necessary step, but it does help preserve some paint. It kind of helps your paint go a little further because it thins it out a little bit. And especially because we're just dealing with the background right now, we're not worried about getting like a big thick layer of paint. We just want a quick little layer of blue for all of the other cool things to rest on top of. Lift up your canvas if you need to kind of get around the bottom or the edges. As a reminder, I always remind all of you to not forget painting your edges. I always recommend that because it really just completes the whole painting. Wraps the design around. There it is in chat. I knew it was coming. Don't forget. Don't forget. And honestly, that suggestion is becoming a little bit of a joke for me. Not a joke as in like it's a silly suggestion. It's a great suggestion. It's kind of a joke with me though, because I like notoriously forget now, or I just like consciously don't. But I always follow up after the painting is done and I paint the edges. I just don't know what it is that I have trouble kind of remembering when I'm halfway through the painting. I guess this is a good painting because we can just remember now, deal with the edges now, and then we don't really have to worry as much later. If you forget a couple leaves here and there around the edges, it's not going to be a big deal, for example. But at least we can clean up the edges with some light blue right now. Yeah, it seems every time I release a batch of paintings, I literally have to dedicate a couple hours to checking all the edges of my paintings and going back and painting a few of them up. So that's why we try and do it while we paint, so you don't have to spend hours doing that at a later date. I'm already running out of white paint. Maybe you are too. White is always the first one to go for me anyway. It's always the first one to be refilled. So take your time to refill your white either now or once you've completed the whole background here. How we doing, chat? I've been ignoring you for a second. It's not Buns After Dark, thankfully. Well, not yet. It will be. I guess depending on time zone, it could be. You can see you might get variations of blue as well. You saw a big streak of a little bit of a darker blue. You can see you can just kind of blend it in by stroking up and down around all the other paint that it was surrounding. That'll help kind of match it up a little bit more. You can mix together your different colors on the canvas as they're still drying. So yeah, if you accidentally try and color match and get it a little wrong, whether it's a little dark or a little light. Just kind of blend it in by stroking a little to the left or a little to the right. And you can see it'll all kind of match up in the end. Yeah, I've already got to dump more white here. I could record and stream in OBS. Is that another raid coming in? Oh wow, hi there! Welcome raiders, hello! For those watching on YouTube, again, I'm streaming live on Twitch here. We have a couple things going on that you might hear me shouting out as we paint. This is a raid occurring, which means another channel has gone offline and brought their people to me. So welcome everybody. Hi, I'm Erin. I'm teaching a step-by-step painting tutorial right now. Welcome in. Happy to have you all here. Was it the Zondora? Thanks for the shout out, Gray. I appreciate it. Zondora, let us know what you were up to. I would love to check out after the tutorial what you were doing. Usually I love to show off other artists' work while I'm streaming, but because I'm doing a step-by-step tutorial, I'm trying to keep on time here. But yeah, if you want to link anything to the chat and they can all click it and have a look, let us know. We can give you a little permit. And again, I appreciate you raiding in with all your friends. Welcome. You can see the image we're painting above me here. It's a nice little ripple painting. I'm using acrylic paints. All the info should be in chat, either pinned or using the exclamation supplies button, or command rather. There's no button, excuse me. Messy, welcome in. Hello. Mark, Goran, hello. Thank you for the Instagram. Right on it, thank you. Yeah, perfect, right? You don't even have to grab your own link. How nice. Yeah, and if there's anything you want to chat about, like what you did on stream, feel free to let us know. I'm still reading chat as I go along here. As you can see, I'm just a little less attentive, so give me a little extra time, but I would genuinely love to hear about what you were doing today. Thank you, thank you. Problem is I always use more paint than I need and I waste it. Oh, really, Jamie? That's a little surprising. I definitely pour some extra paint, just a couple extra colors. I don't usually like get super wasteful with it, but just that's because what I'm used to with painting quickly, I find it easier to have bigger blobs of paint to work with, so sometimes a little bit gets left behind and dried, unfortunately. Wait, you do, Gray? Which one? With the edges? Wait. Which one? Because I feel like I was adamant about making sure nothing went out without edges painted. What the heck? So bad at gauging amounts. I want to say it gets better, but it's still an issue for me 4 years later. So, well, 4 years later? So many years later. More than 4. Okay, I've completed that step. I'm just going to give another minute or two in case anyone's still adding a little bit of light blue. I recognize that I probably paint a little faster than most. So I'm just going to let that sit for a second before we move on to our next step. Doing your stream event this weekend, so I've been streaming 12 hours. Whoa! It's Zondra, right? Yeah, Zondra, if you gotta go to get some time to yourself at any time, feel free to just go on. Get some food or whatnot, but good for you. Gonna do another 12 tomorrow. What? Holy moly. What a fun celebration. I love doing little follower celebrations, but I gotta tell you, that's pretty intense. But good for you. I'm sure it's a ton of fun as a result. I know they're very exhausting streams, those 12-hour ones, but they are so much fun. This was years ago, was my penguin. Really? I didn't paint the edges, though? I'm still surprised. Yeah, those were the 10 by 10s, but I'm still surprised. Because I was still reminding everybody of that rule. Anyway, I guess you have an exclusive no edge painted. Wow. I was working on my Weeping Angel sculpture commission. Whoa, cool! Doctor Who, yeah, for the first half, and then NL just played Majora's Mask. So cool. I played that game within the last year or so for the first time. Zelda fan for sure. I was more Ocarina of Time, but Majora's Mask I found that game difficult. It was great though. I would absolutely play it again in the future. Is this your first time playing it? Messy, thank you for the follow. No worries, Anne-Marie. I'm going to give it another minute or two here. Thanks. I'll have a little sip as well. Yeah, a reminder to everybody to stay hydrated. I know I'm talking a lot, so I probably need a little more water, but everyone take your sips here and there. Man, chicken. Everyone recommends Twilight Princess, Messy. I really need to get on that too. I've been told I need to try out Twilight Princess as well. It's a lot of people's favorites, isn't it? Yeah, easy, right? Yeah, easy. Go ahead, streamer. Another 10 hours of Zelda gameplay. Easy peasy. Sounds cool. I love the Weeping Angel storyline. There you go. There you go. Wait, it's her 20th attempt? Is that what you're saying? I've played it often, not all the way through. Really? I finished it once like 20 years ago, so that counts. It does count, honestly. And impressive it was 20 years ago, like when it was a fresher game. I as well did start and put it down a couple times. Not quite 20 times, but I did do the whole I'm gonna finish this game, I swear, and then I would put it down and I would forget everything, and then I would get frustrated and have to start back over. Start fresh each time. It's not one you can kind of just pick up, I feel like, halfway through after leaving it for a while. It takes a lot to, like, understand it. My soul animal. Man, chicken. Wind Waker? I haven't heard many people say that. I think it's usually Ocarina of Time. Game of the century, da-da-da-da. And then there's some Majora's Mask, you know, purists who are like, Ocarina is overrated, Majora's Mask is where it's at. But I think Twilight Princess gets close to both of those ones, for recommendations. I've never played personally. Wind Waker, I gotcha. Still need to see Don't Blink. I just started watching Doctor Who at the next doc. Oh, I've never really watched Doctor Who, to be honest. I just know, like, that one reference. If you mention anything else from that show, it'll right over my head. So, glad I got the one reference. Okay, so I'll just chat about the next step here. And if you're finishing up the blue, you still have another minute or so as I chat, okay? Let me bring you the original again, just so you get a nice big version to look at. So as I mentioned at the start, the next step is going to be doing these nice kind of branches kind of overhanging. So we still see some blue sky, but I liked the idea of kind of bordering around with these green branches and leaves kind of trickling in. So we're going to start with a nice deep dark green. I'm going to show you the edge here. You can see it more here, this really deep dark green in here. We're going to kind of dot it all along the edges here. I'm going to bring it a little further into the middle, but we're going to leave a little more room more so for the lighter greens for that. We can, of course, stack the light green on top of the dark green, but just to save a little time, we can just kind of bring the darks a little bit in. We don't need to go kind of all the way. For this color, I will be using a different brush, though. I will say that. We're using a medium round brush. And the reason I use that brush specifically is to get all these nice little leaf shapes. You can see how they're almost little dots or little ovals. The round brush will really help us to obtain that shape because we can use the tip of the brush. We can do just a small little stroke, and that'll leave behind these, again, little ovals or little dots, more so just leaf shapes, rather than using a square brush, which will produce more of a square shape, of course. Or, again, if you have a fancy brush that you want to use that you think you can create some nice leaves with, and whip that out. Have a little try at that one. Here's mine, though, the nice medium round, a classic. I'm once again dipping that in my paint water. I always start by dipping in the water just to get the brush wet, tapping on my paper towel. And I'm going to do a little bit of a fancy mixture of colors. Fancy meaning I'm mixing 3 colors. Ooh, wow. Wow. I'm going to start by mixing our classic blue and yellow together. And I say classic because that produces a pretty classic green. You'll see what I mean when you mix them. Blue and yellow make green. I'm just blobbing about half of each. Excuse me. So to my side here, I'm taking a big scoop of blue, taking a big scoop of yellow, mixing them together. That should actually produce like a darker green, if anything. If you feel like it's still pretty light, you can mix a little more blue in there and that'll darken it up. Now, I called this a fancy mixture because I'm not going to stop there. I'm actually going to add, surprise, the third primary color. I'm going to add a little bit of red to my green, a little bit of red. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to mute the green a little bit. So by that, I mean it makes it kind of like less bright, less vibrant. I would say maybe a little more realistic in some senses, just for like the look I'm going for anyway. I don't picture these leaves to be a really vibrant, beautiful green. I picture them to be a little more, I call it like a dirtier color. Like it's a little, a little more gray toned, not necessarily gray, but just less bright, less vibrant than before. So again, just to repeat, I've mixed blue and yellow. I'm now grabbing just a little bit of red. I'm not going to mix the same amount of red. I'm just grabbing a little bit of red and throwing it in that green. And you'll see what happens is it kind of darkens the green, and I keep using the word mute, but it mutes the green a little bit. And maybe that step isn't for you. Maybe you want the brighter, more vibrant green. If so, just skip the red step. Don't add the red in. You can just use blue and yellow as is. But I'm trying to stay as close as to my original as possible for you. So blue, yellow, and then a little bit of red in there. So yeah, it'll both darken the green and also kind of dirty it up, make it a little more muted. How many times will I say muted? I don't know. Keep track for me. All right, so I've got my medium round brush with a lot of this dark green on it. We can start just by doing some messy little taps, so we don't need to worry about having perfect little leaf shapes yet. I'm just taking the brush, tapping it onto the canvas. Tap, 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 tap. Grabbing more paint. Tap, 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 tap. You can see just kind of like caking it on. I'm not worried about the shapes that are coming off of my brush here. I'm not really worried about leaving any gaps. And you can see I'm sticking to the edge. I'm going to start at the top left edge. As you can see, I'm working my way down pretty quickly here. Just tapping, 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 tapping. Tap, 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 tap. Linktree name is Genius. Hey, thank you. Thanks so much. Yeah, I'm erinbunpaints everywhere, so, you know, might as well make the Linktree called erinbunpaints as well. Why would I switch it up, I guess? Just to confuse the people. I have a toothbrush. Take it or leave it. Final. You could use a toothbrush. Fun fact, I have absolutely used a toothbrush here and there. Great for splattering stars. And I guess if you have something really far away, like a little field of flowers and stuff, you could splatter and do some tiny little dots of color. It would actually work. Bad time or bedtime? Zandra, thanks so much. I really hope you have a really good sleep in preparation for tomorrow, and good luck tomorrow and on Sunday. See you later. Thanks again for rating in. All right, so you can see visually, but I'll describe verbally as well. I'm going all the way down to the bottom. I'm on the left-hand side, going down to the bottom left corner, trying to remember to bring this green onto the edges as well. And you can see I'm not going too far in quite yet. I'm just kind of bordering, so getting a little messy, bringing it in a bit, but not too much. Just want to be careful. And once I hit the bottom left corner, I'm going to tap, tap, tap all the way to the bottom right corner as well. Fully covering both of those sides, so we don't need to worry about doing too much. We're going all the way here. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, 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 tap. Yeah, we'll get a little more intricate with our leaves once we get closer into the middle, but for now we really don't need to worry about it. We're really just looking for coverage right now for a nice dark green base. Just letting Zandra's community know, because I know you're probably newer to stream. I do these step-by-step tutorials just here and there, every like month or two at this point, not too often. I used to do them weekly. I used to do them multiple times a week. So if you like what you're seeing here and you want a little more of it, there's a bunch on YouTube. What I do is I record this live stream and then I upload it to YouTube. So if you're an aspiring painter or you just want some inspiration to kind of follow along with, feel free to check out my YouTube page. There's so many resources there for you. Have a little look if you like, but no pressure. All right, other places where I'm going to add these leaves. Personally, for my design here, I brought my leaves a little bit up the bottom right-hand side. Maybe about like a quarter of the way up, just kind of tapping. And then stopping about a quarter of the way up. I wanted to leave a couple gaps. I'm going to zoom you out just to make sure you can really see each edge cleanly. I can see my canvas is kind of falling off the camera edges here. A little more. That's like a tiny bit better, right? I probably just zoomed it in and out and then landed at the same spot. I feel like it's a little better there. You can see left-hand side, bottom edge, and a little up the right-hand side. Tap, tap, taparoo. I'm not too young. Give it a little tappy. Go home, ball, go home. That's your home. Fun fact, Happy Gilmore was filmed in my general area, at least pieces of it. I don't know if the whole film was. The famous there's many golf club scenes. The famous golf course scene with Bob Barker was filmed semi-locally at a golf course in between Vancouver and Squamish. Recall the scene was rainy. Typical Vancouver. It is rainy. So yeah, Bob Barker rolled down a local golf course's hill for the movie. Hooray! Wowie! Yeah, that's right, great. The price is wrong. Okay, back to the leaves here. The last place I'm going to add these little tippy taps, just bordering, is the top right-hand corner. So I'm just going to start in the top right corner. I'm going to bring it along the top a little bit. Maybe stopping about halfway. And then I'm going to bring it down maybe like a third of the way if I want to be particular about it. Again, these are all just suggestions. If you go a little more or a little less, that's totally fine. I just want to give a little bit of separation so it's not fully enclosed, you know? So just as a review, we've done the whole left side, whole bottom side, tiny little bits of the right side, and then about half of the top. In no particular order, and again, very flexible amounts here. I'm going to give a pause here while anybody is catching up. I'm just going to mix more green paint on the side and catch up on the live stream chat here. I think chat is all just talking about Happy Gilmore, which is fine. Tap, tap, tap. A quote from Bob Ross, if you'd like to hear it. All you need to paint is a few tools, a little instruction, and a vision in your mind. Wow. He's so right. And here we are, we have all of it. Wait, why are you saying uh-oh? Why are we uh-ohing? Let's not uh-oh. So wrong? Wait, yet so right? I love that, Brittany. I got a little concerned when I read so wrong. I was like, how can I help? And then you said, but so right. Excellent. Oh, ads. Should I turn those off? How do I turn those off real quick? Let me snooze. Let me snooze the ads. I've snoozed the ads. How do I get rid of this? Ads off. Okay, I'm gonna turn pre-rolls on. That's what I'm gonna do. So for anyone entering the stream, they will see some ads. Just for today. I hope that fixed it, Gray. We'll see. I wonder, now that I've done it like midway through, if it'll change, but I hope so. Just so no one's hit with any advertisements. If anyone who's painting along gets hit with advertisements, needs me to repeat anything, go over anything a second time, just let me know and I can do that for you. Yeah, no, like, I'll just have like 5 breaks in the painting, it's fine. It wouldn't even be 5, it would be like 2 breaks, it's fine. It's fine, it's fine. Okay, 1 more minute and then we'll add some more leaves. Again, I'm just mixing a bunch more. If you're out of your dark green, I would recommend mixing more dark green right now. Or eventually, because we're using a lot more of it. Another recommendation I have for you as well, after all of this mixing, we've been doing a lot of paint mixing, right, with large amounts of paint. Here and there, I do recommend just washing off your brush. Even though we're using the same brush with the same color, it is helpful to wash it out just to get the shape back. Because as you're mixing, all the paint gets really stuck in your bristles, and then it turns really blobby. And especially for the next step, that's not helpful to have a very blobby brush. You'll see very blobby strokes as a result. So before we start to get all of our little tiny leaf shapes in there, I'd recommend washing off your brush so that you can kind of see the tip again, see a little bit more shape to the brush. It'll give you a nicer stroke as a result. I just got a text from someone looking to hire for a job. How legitimate is that? Should I reply? Should I humor them? The answer is no. All right, moving forward with the painting. As I said, I'm still working with my medium round brush. What I'm doing is I'm just dipping into the color that I mixed. It's the same color we were just using, to be clear. I just mixed a little more of it. And we're going to do similar thing again. We're just going to maybe go a little slower. We're going to be a little more thoughtful about our taps. Okay, so we're not just like squishing them all together, filling the canvas quickly. I'm going to go a little slower and space them out a little bit more so that we can get some blue kind of shining through little gaps in the leaves. So here I go. I've got my paint color here. Rather than tapping straight at the canvas as well, you'll notice when I was tapping before, I was just kind of like punching right at it. I'm now going to go at a little more of an angle so I can do a brush stroke instead. Stroke, 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 stroke. And you can see that leaves more of an oval or a leaf shape rather than if I were to go straight at the canvas like this, it kind of blobs it, which is also nice here and there, but I find if you combine a bunch of those, they'll look literally like blobs rather than leaves. So I recommend trying to do more of a stroke rather than a tap here. We are kind of tapping, we are kind of blobbing a bit, but I would consider these more to be like small strokes. So yeah, going at more of an angle and then just doing one quick little stroke and release, stroke and release. I see a little ad alert, but we're going to see if it follows through. You can see you can go nice and slow with it if you need to, like this slow if you want. Or you can start to speed up. Get a little more going here. As I'm adding these, you'll notice that I'm kind of twisting my handle and my brush a little bit. That just gives more variety. If I were to keep my brush at the same place each time, we're going to get the same stroke all the way down. We're going to get the leaves are all pointing the same direction, miraculously. So to make it a little more natural, I'm kind of switching my handle a bit. I'm going to move it left, for example. I'll go from up, I'll go from the side, and then that way, as we combine all of those, it looks a little more like a natural cluster of leaves. In terms of where I'm placing the leaves, you can obviously see that I'm just kind of extending the spots that we started in. So I am starting again in the top left. I'm working my way down the left-hand side. And I'm just moving them a little further in. So I'm just going from this border that we created, bringing them a little more into the middle, but definitely not quite the middle here. We're just extending the border. You can extend a little up top if you want to. And I try and be conscious about not creating like a consistent width all the way around. I know we did that at the start, but now that we're adding all of our little leaves, I would try your best to make sure a couple of them kind of come further in. Some of them maybe stay tighter to the edge. That way you get the look of some branches maybe forming or just little clusters of leaves rather than one big bulk amount happening at once. My blue, I realized it's ultramarine, so my blue looks a little lavender. Ah, my green is definitely lighter. Let's see what the... Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's working out. Yeah, I think if anything, Brittany, I think ultramarine blue, it's going to be like more, maybe what you're seeing is it's more muted as well. I feel like my little step of adding red is more so for like the phthalo blue to really tone it down because it produces such a bright green when it's mixed with yellow. Ultramarine, at least I find in my experience, it's already kind of a muted blue. So mixing the yellow into it will create more of a muted green as a result. But yeah, if it's working, you keep doing what you're doing. Lavender though, that's interesting. Oh, the other tip I have for you here, of course, as I get closer to the middle, you may notice I'm creating smaller strokes. It's just kind of the idea that as we're getting to the ends of these branches or little tips of the trees, the leaves maybe get a little smaller, they're a little less grown. There's little baby leaves, so I'm just doing smaller brush strokes by using less pressure, so just using the very tip of the brush, doing quick little strokes, and not pressing onto the canvas too much, and that gives you these nice little tiny guys. It makes it look like it's kind of drifting away. The leaves are drifting away. Things are fading away as they get further to the ends. And we're just continuing that all the way around. There's really nothing more to describe as I go around. We're just following the border we've already created and adding slowly. We'll take lots of time for this part, so really just relax during this next step here, or this current step rather. Hopefully you're getting in the flow of things, just adding little leaves one at a time. I guess my only other reminder is just leaving gaps between the leaves. Again, you can see how some of these leaves are quite clustered and quite close together, but you can still see little pockets of blue shining through, and I think that really helps with the effect of it being a tree branch rather than like a really filled up like bush area, you know? We want more of the look of leaves on a branch kind of separate and blowing a little bit in the wind type thing so we can see the sky through it. Hiring anyone between ages of 1 to 99. Yeah. Here's the thing. I think it's not even a job. If I could guess. If I could guess. They're going to say, send us your personal information so we can get you a job. And I'm going to say, no. I don't think so. Send us your personal SIN number, your full home address, and your bank account information. And then we'll get you a job. We'll transfer you money for the new job that you're about to obtain. No. Oh, don't worry about if anyone's kind of getting to where I am here. This is the bottom left area. If anyone's noting that we have a leaf kind of smack right here in the bottom left and they're worried about putting green there, don't worry. The idea is we actually want a fair amount of green there, so keep adding your leaves at will here. We want the green there so that we can use it for the ripples. We like having the green where the ripple's going to be so we can extend the green further and then put blue on top of the green as well. So if anything, it's actually a bonus that we're kind of caking the leaves on where the big leaves are going to go. The green leaves, and then where the orange leaf is going to go. Yeah, I found it quite helpful when I was making these ripples to have a little bit of each color where I was making the ripple. Or else you're going to be using kind of various shades of one color. It's going to be a lot more subtle. I think what brings my ripples to life is using the very two contrasting colors, the very dark green and then the light blue, and then having them work together. Yeah, happy little accident. A little happy lavender accident. A little trick I use as I'm painting all these leaves, a couple tricks I use, just to kind of like get a sense of how much I'm adding, if I want to add more. is I do one of two things. Number one, I kind of squint. You might see in my tiny little area here that sometimes I'm kind of squinting at my canvas. It's not because I have bad eyesight, I swear. It's because it helps me kind of see the big bulks of colors together rather than kind of looking with your good vision and seeing everything crystal clear. I like having the colors kind of blur together. It gives you a sense of how much of each color is on the canvas, what's kind of overtaking the other one. And then that helps me decide if I want to add a little more green or if I want to slow down with adding the green, for example. The other thing you can do to obtain more of a view of the whole painting is either kind of step back from the painting here and there. I would recommend doing that maybe once we've gone all the way around with our leaves, and then you can have a look at how the whole thing is looking all together. Or if you don't want to get up from your seat, you can take a little picture on your phone and then have a look at the picture. The picture will help bring everything together in a smaller image. It helps you kind of see the whole thing as one piece rather than all the different elements when you're looking so close, when you're seated so close to the painting. So yeah, do one of those things if you're at a stage where you're kind of like, do I want to add more? How far in do I go? Give a little squint, take a little photo, step back a little bit. Any of those options are good. There's the little gold guy. Yeah, he's a tier 3 sub, I think, Jamie. He's a special little guy. An exclusive. Now, I kind of said earlier, if you add too much green, and I'm sure some of you are like, how do you bounce back from that? Once I've added the green, like, I can't erase it. You can erase it. With acrylic paints, they're great for layering. We do a lot of layering in this tutorial in general, but layering is great if you make a mistake or you just want to change something. Maybe you're not vibing with what you made and you want to switch it up a bit. Once this green dries, if you feel like there's too much, you can always just create a nice light blue color, just anything similar to your background. And then use the same technique we were just using. So doing your small little brush strokes, little dots, and you can kind of re-add in that blue sky shining through. So if maybe I added too many leaves in here, maybe there's no gaps left, and I'm like, oh no, it's too thick. Light blue, tap, 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 tap. It'll give the illusion of the sky shining through. I know it's kind of a backwards order, but it works either way. And I did honestly do a little bit of that in my original, just when I was experimenting with the design. So if you have a good eye and you see some light blue that looks to be stacked on top of the green, that's why. That was me kind of correcting things and just adjusting how many leaves were squished together on the canvas. But yeah, if you're conscious as you're adding these leaves and purposely leaving gaps, you shouldn't have to do that unless you want to try it. Sound like you're just going to sell something you can erase it just by, right? You can. Now, if you go to my website, erinbunpaints.com, an exclusive item to erase paint with. No, don't, like, visit the website if you want, but don't expect to have a magic eraser there. Big Ray, thanks for the follow. Welcome in. We're doing a step-by-step painting tutorial. If you have any questions, let me know in the chat. Otherwise, enjoy the process. I did kind of say, you can. And it can be yours for only. I've watched too many as seen on TV type commercials, I guess. I'm a Billy Mays type. What's the other guy? Who is the ShamWow guy? I'm a Vince type personality. All right, so just as a check-in, I've completed the left-hand side, the bottom side. I'm now going to work my way on the top right. No real differences. Looking very specifically at my design, I guess I would say I left kind of like more distinct gaps in the top right. So I did the thing where I bring the leaves down a lot, and then I'll kind of keep them very, very tight to the edge as I move along here. So a little bit more variation of like the leaves coming further down and the leaves staying tighter up to the corner. Just if you like the shapes that you see in my design, but again, add as many or as few leaves as you like. in whatever shape or order or cluster you enjoy. Whatever looks good to you, you know? Oops, I did a little bit of connecting there, but that's okay. I got a little leaf happy there and added a few extras. I just felt it, you know? Just wanted them to have some friends. Thanks, Gray. Yeah, Big Ray. No worries. Enjoy. Just under $100 Canadian. You can erase paint too. Oh yes, you would absolutely price it at $99.97. And then Emma, you would say, or 3 easy payments of $33.33. With a final payment of $33.31 or whatever the math works out to be. But wait. Buy now and you get 2. That's right, 2. Just pay extra shipping and handling. 2 magic eraser. I don't even know what I'm selling anymore. Wow, what a deal. You won't see that in store. Act now. But wait. The deal's only available for 10 more minutes. You gotta act now to get that 2-in-1. You're not gonna see this commercial in another hour. Saying the same thing. You gotta act now. The phone lines are open. People are taking orders. Teehee. Emma forgot her chicken. I saw it at the start. Little hype wave. That's my side job. It'd be fun. Selling products all day. Big smiles to the camera. I think I'd get tired of it, honestly. I think I'd have fun for an hour and then I'd be like, nah. The shopping channel. Act now. Oh, you're crocheting, Emma. How nice. Yeah, again, I love these toots because obviously people are painting along, but I find people just do their own little artistic endeavors too. If it's encouragement to do anything alongside, I love that. Even if it's not painting, anything creative, artsy, I encourage. It's just nicer with company. Okay, see, I'm trickling these leaves down a little bit, keeping them a little tighter to the corner over here. Our other ripple is going to be right around this area. I'm kind of circling the top right, maybe a little lower than top right, so that's why I'm making sure these leaves come out a little more. So once again, like I explained, I can kind of use them for the contrast of the ripple. I can use the greens that are going to be there. Something like that. Pretty similar to my original there. Again, go off on your own if you like, but I'm just trying to get it as close to what was advertised. I think that's probably good for me. All right, I'm going to put my brush down. Once again, I'll leave a couple extra minutes at least. I know that was kind of a bigger step there. Couple minutes at least for you to keep adding your dark green leaves. Do not fear, the next step is pretty much the same, just with a different color. So if you're feeling like you're getting a little behind, don't worry. Next step is, again, same thing. So I would just recommend taking your time, enjoying the process with your dark green leaves, and then you can be comfortable knowing we're just doing pretty much the same thing, just with a lighter green as our next step. Magic eraser. Yeah, I keep calling it the magic eraser. I'm gonna be sued by Mr. Clean. I don't want that. I don't want that mess. Thank you. Wait, where did you get that Bulbasaur? That is a cute emote, Gray. My Bulbasaur. Sherry, you done your class? Do I still have my... What's that, Charlene? RB? Oh, apron and bob. Yeah, I got all of that. I've got two I've got two Bob Ross shirts now. I, of course, still have Bob down here, and he still has a little bit of a missing tooth. I'm sorry. And yeah, my aprons are all hanging up there. I was just explaining earlier that I'm preserving them. I don't want them to get too caked with paint. It would be even better if I could sell the stuff wearing a Chica costume. Would this produce more sales or less? Would the people be more intrigued to buy or less intrigued? Like, that was the one and only time for my Chica costume. I'm sorry. That was so much face paint. We can think of the next one to do for Halloween, okay? Do we stay in the Five Nights at Freddy's universe, or do I try something else? Oh yeah, I didn't ask for suggestions, but I meant to, Lori. Ripple effect. That's good. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I usually remind and ask everybody, if you have painting name suggestions, feel free to give them to me. No guarantee I'll use them, of course, but I like to keep them in mind when I put a little painting name in the YouTube video title. You're done. Good. Real snoozy. I feel so snoozy today too. Like, and I was outside with some fresh air. And I was kind of in a nappy mood earlier, but I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Yeah, no, take a good break, Shay. You just finished your class, dang it. Brobe os. Another Freddy? Ooh, who would it be though? Yo, what if I did Balloon Boy? What if I... He'd be difficult. I don't know how I would do those big bulging eyes. Thank you for the follow. Is it Adrian? Welcome. I'm doing a little step-by-step painting tutorial. Feel free to ask any questions or just enjoy what you see, enjoy the process. Welcome in. Oh no, now I've suggested it, Hoki. Now I gotta... I don't know how. I would really need to think about that one, just like execution-wise. Oh yes, Brittany. Always, always important. Brittany says, I'm remembering to trust the process. Always very key. We can't judge our painting until we get through all the steps, and then we can go back and we can adjust things if we want, right? But yeah, if I can help in the meantime, let me know. Jules, oh my god, hi! How have you been? Hi, we're doing a little toots. What's going on with you? Hello? Hello? I was in the sun this afternoon too. Maybe, yeah, I was doing a lot of walking around, but I didn't think it was that sunny. It got a little sunny at the end there, but I don't know. The fresh air was exhausting. I'm so tired. Yeah, Adrian, exactly. Adrian says Bob Ross style. Yeah, that's kind of what I do. Except a little slower than Bob Ross. I will say, I've tried to follow along with Bob Ross before. That man is fast. That man does a whole painting in like half an hour. I take at least 2 hours. We're already an hour in. My gosh, he is so speedy. Okay, on that note, I'm going to slowly transition us to our next paint color. I will bring the painting up so we can visually see it as well. Really, it's just a lighter version of the color we were just using. So, simply enough, if you have extra of that dark green that you were playing with there, you could add a little white to the green to make this kind of muted light green here that you can see stacked on top. You can add a little yellow if you want to make it a little brighter and more vibrant again, but I'm going to stick with using just a little bit of white, just enough so that you can see a pretty good difference between your dark and your light green. We're just going to use those two colors here for the layering. You can see some red that we're going to add after, but those are just tiny little dots. So yeah, the light green is next. So we're doing the exact same thing. We're using the medium round brush. We're mixing lots of this paint, and then we're applying it the same way. The only difference is how much and the placement, I guess, but the technique is the same. The idea is the same. So as a reminder, if you need to remix more green, I am going to start with my 3 colors again. I'm going to mix my blue and yellow together, equal amounts. And again, I'm using my medium round brush for all of this. Blue and yellow. I'm adding a little bit of red to mute my color. And again, I was just discussing a little earlier there how maybe you have a different blue and it's already kind of a muted green as a result. So feel free to skip the red step. Excuse me. But yeah, more importantly, the difference here is I'm adding little bits of white. You can see a little white on the tip of my brush. I'm just going to add a little bit at a time until I have a color that I enjoy. So yeah, not like the lightest green ever, but something that really contrasts with the dark green. And again, adjust as you like. If you want to add some yellow in there to kind of brighten it, feel free. You need to add more blue to make it a little more of a blue-green, feel free. I'm pretty much just taking, again, the dark green, adding white, though. Keeping her simple. Wah, 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 wah. Okay, here I go, just to demonstrate a little bit, and then I'll get back to chat here. Grabbing it on, again, my brush, kind of, again, keeping it a little more on the tip, or at least cleaning your brush off so you get a nice brush shape. Same idea, doing my small brush strokes to make more of like an oval shape or a round dot, something a little cleaner. Again, I said the only real difference is placement and amount. So I'm going to add less of this color, first of all. I'm not going to be caking it on like I was at the start with this dark green here. I'm just going to go straight into my little brush strokes instead. I'm not going to do the tap, 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 tap. Unless you like this color a lot, you want to tap, tap a bit, that's fine. But I'm going in with our more defined brush strokes. I'm adding less of this color, so I'm allowing the dark green to kind of show through a little bit still. We don't want to get put all that hard work to waste, you know? And then placement-wise, I would say I'm keeping them a little closer to the middle or the outside of these leaves rather than bordering. You can, of course, still bring these in a little bit because it does add a nice little, like, different layer here, but I would say I'm mostly focusing on adding these closer to the ends of the branches, anywhere, like, bordering the middle. Just because my theory is there's more light over there, right? As you're getting to the tips of these branches, there's probably more light hitting the leaves. You're seeing some lighter leaves as a result. But again, as I keep going back and saying, it also adds a nice extra layer. So if you want to layer a little bit onto the dark green, a little closer to the border, you can absolutely do that. I would just go slowly, you know? Go slowly, check in with how it's looking. And once again, if you go a little overboard, it's understandable. We all get excited. You can always go back in with your dark green or your light blue to bring the sky back as well. But yeah, let me twist this. You might see it a little better. You can see how that layering is starting to happen up here. Jules says, I love it. So happy to see you. I'm going to paint this one. Yay, on the replay. Yeah, I'll try my best as usual. I always say a week. I hope so. I hope it'll be a quick little, even a few days, hopefully. I'll try and get this up. I was explaining earlier, it's not like the editing process takes a lot, it's just like waiting for things to upload. I do this on a different computer. I do the editing on a different computer that I've had for like 10 plus years now, and it's getting to the dinosaur stage where no matter how much I delete from it, it still just goes slow. So editing a video already takes, you know, time, or I guess exporting, I mean. But I think it's extra slow on my little dinosaur computer over there. Anyway, we're making it work. We're making it work. Find a good cosplay or bot. Yeah, I could just like do some Googling probably. You're right. You're right. I'm sure someone has done it before, Hoki. I mean, who wouldn't love to cosplay Balloon Boy of all the FNAF characters, really? But what if there's someone better? What if I did like Bonnie? Or like Golden Freddy? Ooh, there's so many options. I work tonight, so I've been sleepy all day. Considering calling this, I really— oh no, because you've had a headache. No. If you've got the days, Jamie, I'd consider it. You want to listen to your body if you can. Hey Aaron, what was that word game we played on stream where it's essentially completely open association? Contexto? If someone hasn't answered, I think it's contexto, what you're looking for. And it just chooses a word, and you guess words, and it's like, this one's kind of close. I played it the other day, and I struggled hard with the answer. I had like answer number 3, 4, 5, 6, and I just couldn't get the word they were looking for, and it was so frustrating. It's a good one, though. It helps that Bob's doing one-on-one. You're so right, Todd, yeah. He doesn't have to wait for drying time, and that always gets me with these because I like to do my little layering and stacking of colors. So I find myself waiting a little bit here and there. Even though acrylics dry quickly, I still have some little waiting times. But you're right, Bob really uses that to his advantage. The oils, I mean. I don't know what the character looks like, but big bulgy eyes. Maybe make it so that when you close your eyes, painted. Yeah, I'd want to make them more three-dimensional. I get what you're saying, Emma. It's a good idea. But kind of like I did with Chica's cheeks, you know, with the ping pong ball, I kind of visualize that for the eyes. I want to get some bulgy eyes. I want them out there. That's true, Todd. Bob is also speaking to you on the other side of the TV rather than directly answering questions live. I should give myself more credit. You're right. You're right. For the Bob has also done the paintings before and made sure it was a painting. That is true. I've done the painting once, but I think there was a fair amount of practice, you're right, involved. Fair amount of figuring it out. At least they're looking questionable, but they're doing their best. Aren't we all? We are all leaves. We are all just doing our best. I mean, we all might be a little questionable, but we all are out here just trying. I am your leaves. We are all your leaves. Leaves are a struggle. They usually look good in the end. Exactly. I find that's why I love the layering. I find the more layers, the better, because then you get the depth in there too. You're less thinking about the shapes of them. You're more so looking at all the beautiful colors and the lights in front of the darks and all of that. So if you want to add like a third green or throw something else in there, go for it. Still using the same color. I'm just remixing. Mixing as I go. And again, another reminder, wash off your paintbrush here and there. If you find your leaves are getting a little blobby, I find that happens to me all the time. I'm like, why were my leaves real nice 3 minutes ago and now they look questionable? They look more than questionable. Yeah, usually I find washing off my brush and then reapplying the paint just to the tip of the brush, kind of starting fresh, really helps me out. Sometimes it's not you, you know? Sometimes it's just the paint or the brush or whatnot. You just gotta adjust a little and then you're good again. You're doing everything right, you just gotta do a little different prep type thing. That's the one. Got it in 20. Oh, dang, that's pretty good. Figured out before you answered. Oh, sick. Okay. Downfall of Toots. Yeah, you've already figured out the answer. That's okay. I'm glad you found it. I haven't done today's. Now I'm curious if I could do it in 20. Maybe after the toot, I'll try it out. I think it was 2 days ago was the... Oh, man, I hated it. I hated it. It wasn't even like a word I didn't know either. Like, I knew it. I knew it. I just couldn't put it together. For context, we're talking about little daily word games. I really love my little daily word games. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. The New York Times mini games are a favorite, and I'm expanding my daily mini game lineup. Whoever suggested the musical ones, I'm now doing those pretty often. Midnight Bella, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. We're doing a little step-by-step painting tutorial. If you have any questions, let me know. And I'm kind of switching back and forth between instructing and chatting here. But yeah, big fan of connections, big fan of the little mini crossword. Gets my brain going in the morning, makes me feel good. Wordle, of course, a classic. Okay. And with that said, I've gone all the way around with my light green. Once again, I'll give at least a few more minutes. Maybe closer to 5 minutes just because we did a lot of green in there. I don't know if some of you are still maybe catching up with dark greens at all, or maybe you want to take some time to do some adjustments, whether it's re-adding dark green or adding some light blue like I suggested. I'm good with what I've got. Or maybe I can even demonstrate if you want to just see the light blue. So again, this isn't a step. I'll just show you what adding the light blue on top looks like. Yeah, keep painting away. I'm not doing anything extra here. Doing a little demo. So here's an example. Maybe up here I feel like I clustered the leaves a little too much. It just looks like a solid area, right? And I go, oh no, what do I do? The answer is I just grab some light blue. So I'm just mixing lots of white and then a little bit of blue using my medium round brush. And ideally I want this to be super dry so that I can get some clean strokes, but I'm going to do my best to show you while it's still a little wet. Maybe I just want to like open up some areas in here. Just taking my light blue, doing the same stroke I was doing with the green so that it looks like little holes in the leaves. and caking it on top. And when I say caking, I mean I am probably using a little more paint than usual just to really make sure it's nice and crisp and clean. And I like kind of connecting to the actual sky so it looks a little more seamless here. Kind of trickles in. And I'm going very carefully because, again, my paint is still a little bit wet in that area. But if it were completely dry, it would be very easy peasy. You just kind of cake it on wherever you want. Yeah, just like that. You can see it kind of opens up the area a bit more. I've created a little hole. And that helps with making, you know, getting some variety. I think naturally for some people, they want to make things like, you know, all very either symmetrical or consistent. And I find in nature that does happen, but a lot of the times it doesn't happen. We want to keep things a little more randomized, a little more sporadic. So if adding this light blue and breaking up some spaces helps you do that, then go for it. But again, this isn't a necessary step at all. Just showing how what it looks like. Yeah, and then look at that, another little hole happening. Gives a little more variation. Cool, cool. I'll give some more time here. I kind of can't. It wouldn't be a nice move because I'm the only one. Ah, overnight. I see. Yeah, I get you, Jamie. It's nice that you're considering that then. Yeah, I hope so. I'm sure it'll help. Whether or not it'll fully go away, but I think you're thinking ahead here. Wait, was there a Steve command? I gotta go back in Streamlabs and look. There was! We were all Steve or something, right? I think some commands got lost. I may have just like chosen to retire them too. Honestly, when I was looking through some commands, Hoki, when I was switching from Streamlabs to Stream Elements, this is why I was doing that. I looked at some and I was like, what? And I personally could not remember what some of them were, and I think I just was like, okay, and I just moved ahead. So it's possible, without context, without being in chat, I probably saw Steve and was like, who? I'm sorry, like... it's been 4 years. We're getting to the point where things are kind of forgotten about. Anyway, I think you're right though. I think there was some, I just don't know how that originated at all. Who was he and why were we all him? I remember us saying we are all him. Yeah. I just don't remember why. Oh, he did, Todd, 2 1-hour specials, huh? Put the color in? The light blue? No. I was just saying it's optional. I mean, it's all optional. You don't have to do any of it, but this is just demonstrating, Charlene, if you want more gaps in between your leaves. It kind of helps with splitting things up. See the light blue and how it's going on top? It's giving the impression that there's more sky shining through. Splitting the leaves up a bit. Yeah, Scuba Steve. I don't think it was a Scuba Steve reference, although I know what you're referencing. Cute movie. Another, why are we all Adam Sandler today? Another classic Adam Sandler. That's maybe one of my favorite Bob quotes, Robin. Welcome in, by the way. Talent is a pursued interest. Anything you're willing to practice, you can do. There is an ongoing belief, I think, that painting and doing art, being good at art, I'm putting it in quotations, being a good artist, is something you're born with. And that's so not true. I think there's people who are born to be like more interested in art, more creatively driven, but it all takes practice. I was not a baby in painting, you know? I did not just simply grow up and paint and learn to paint. Sorry, I grew up and learned to paint. I did not simply grow up and just know how to paint. I did grow up learning to paint and practicing painting for a long, long time. And now I feel comfy with painting and I feel confident with painting. And I think it goes with most things. It's a pursued interest. It's something I was interested in. It's something I pursued. It's something I practiced and dedicated a lot of time to. And wahoo! Now I can make some arts that I like and that other people like. And that goes for all of you. If you want to do that, you gotta practice. It's not a talent. It's not something that's natural. Yeah, I literally, I was born in a hospital and I was holding a paintbrush and I said, canvas! And then they gave me a canvas. I used the paint that they had available at the hospital and I just started painting. That's a true story, and that's how anybody who currently does art in this day and age, how they were born. Yes. Ask anybody, they will confirm. It took no work. It took no time. We simply did it. Absolutely. Yahoo. Just like any athlete, they simply were born and they kicked a soccer ball into a net and they said, goal, and then they were a professional soccer player. That is how it works. They were just simply talented at soccer, and David Beckham, look at him go. Wouldn't it, Adrian? My child. Yeah. I ate all the right foods and my baby was born with a paintbrush in hand. Just eat a lot of fish or whatever would make more sense with my joke. Yes, I broke both my parents' hearts and my first word was canvas. It was not mama or dada or mom or dad. It was canvas. Because I didn't want any paper either. I wanted a stretched canvas on a frame. Paper was not elegant enough for me as a child. Imagine. Okay, let's say one more minute. I've just been, again, playing with my colors here, talking. Say one more minute, then I'll add our last color. We're just adding red to this little bunch of green here, just to get a little something else interesting going on. My idea was, maybe it's fall, right? Because we have our orange and yellow leaves. So instead of having only green leaves, I wanted to add a little bit of red, as if maybe some were starting to turn, and we now have these two that have fallen. So that's my theory with the red, in case anyone's wondering why did I throw in a couple little red dots. I will add them in a moment, but just letting you know my thoughts and theories behind it all. Yeah, real talk, exactly. Again, you're getting exclusive secrets by tuning in here today. Real talk. Correct, Brittany, yes. Bob is lying. If you weren't born with a paintbrush, you simply cannot art, and you might as well give up and think about what you were born holding so that you can pursue that talent. Yeah, that's me. I've done it for 4 years, Shay, just discouraging everyone from painting. Yep, I teach these tutorials and I say, don't follow me though. Why would you? You weren't born with it. Neutrogena, or whatever the company is. Maybelline, go away. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe she's not. If she's not, goodbye. Ta-da. All right, going back to my red. Here, I'll show the original again here. Let me pull up the original painting. All right. Yeah, maybe a little hard to see, but right here, we got little dots of red. We got here, we got here. It's a nice dark red, so that way it doesn't like really poke out too much. It just kind of hides in with all the green. But like I said, my idea was that this was maybe a little more of a fall design, despite teaching this in the smack middle of springtime, because we have our yellow and orange leaves. So I thought it made sense to maybe see a little bit of green leaves turning in our bunches of leaves here. So I'm just going to go ahead and add those little dots of red. Very simple, very straightforward. Taking the same brush, I've washed it off. Gonna grab just straight red paint. And this will kind of, it'll probably do what my paint does. It'll look very bright to begin with. But once it dries, it'll dry a little more transparent, so it'll kind of blend in a bit better with the green. If you like the bright red, though, you could mix a tiny bit of white into this. I know it technically makes a little bit of a pink, but it will help it kind of stick on top a bit better and won't be as transparent or translucent when it dries. But me, I'm just caking it on, just grabbing a big little blob and doing my usual little brush stroke. And you can see I'm adding very few number of these. I'm not adding little clusters. I'm simply adding kind of one at a time, really spacing them out. Again, with the main idea being this is just the start of the greenery turning into our more beautiful red, orange, yellow leaf colors. And yeah, if that theory and idea makes you want to add some oranges or yellows, feel free. Again, it'll kind of change the vibe of the painting a bit, but yeah, it'll make it more fall-like, which is very pretty as well. Ta-da! That's all. I'm not adding too much, so I've just gone around all those little areas, added a couple here and there. And that's good. Neutrogena, I was wrong. She was born with it. It's Maybelline. I screwed it up. Sounds like a radio show. Real Talks with Erin. Wouldn't that be fun? You know, I really feel like I need things to bounce off of. I don't think I could ever do something like that. A radio show, a podcast, all alone. I need the chat. It's impossible for me to host a radio show with a live and moving chat. Oh, sounds good, Shay. Oh, and then gym time. Very nice. Get jacked. Can't wait to try this later. Ooh. Oh, a grayscale one? And then you want it, are you going to keep the leaves grayscale or put like the two very colorful leaves on top? I'm assuming that's what you're going for, but maybe you mean all grayscale? It would be nice practice for the ripples, just kind of working with blacks and whites. I guess that's true, Adrian. Isn't that the solution, right? I guess that happens all the time. Yeah, I just have constant call-ins, though. I'm like, if someone's not talking to me, I'm panicking and it's dead air. I'm just waiting. It's just silence on the other line, and then I'm like, come on. Haven't decided yet. Well, I guess that's the cool thing about grayscale is you could start fully grayscale and then add in color after if you're feeling it. You can always add on top. Okay, still giving another minute or two just to really make sure we're all caught up because the next steps are going to be the ripples. So I want to make sure I'm not rushing anybody too much. Gotta make sure we have our greens down mostly, so that we can work with them to make some nice ripples. Yeah, I don't think I was made for radio. Please, Colin, please. I'm desperate, please. Oh, I am done the commission painting. I unfortunately can't grab it right now because it's huge, but I did finish it. I keep saying I'm going to post it on socials and then I don't because I'm terrible at social media. Let's say I'll try and post it tomorrow morning. Hee. Follow me on Instagram. Yeah, I'll try and post it up to Instagram, Facebook, and stuff tomorrow. I actually took it out for a little photo shoot recently, so I have some really nice photos with it. But yes, for those out of the loop, I've been working on a 30-inch by 40-inch painting, which is the biggest painting I've ever done. And I've been working on it for months, and I finally finished it. So big accomplishment. And yeah, I'll post some photos of it to show it all off. It was a commission, so it's already spoken for. But yeah, it's a good example of what I can do now. I can paint big paintings now. Wowee. I'm growing. And yeah, I'll be starting some newer commissions very shortly. In fact, I'm going to go get a couple canvases either tonight or tomorrow and hopefully start them offline tomorrow. Just some base layers. And then I'll probably live stream some of the process next week. We've got a queue going. Oh, Jamie, that reminds me, I need to reply to you. So sorry. I saw your form that you filled out. Apologies. I'm meaning to figure out a different commission first and then yours. Yes, you are, Jamie, I've got you like technically in the queue. So do not worry. Everything will work out fine. Curious if the dog is available. Honestly, I'm sure I could go to that beach and find a dog instantaneously each time. Probably not that exact dog, but maybe. Maybe if I go at the same time of day, I run into the same dog. Yes, as I was taking photos outside, dogs were approaching. I was happy about the dogs, but there was one incident where an owner was not taking care of their dog and watching their dog, and the dog walked over top of a blank canvas I had brought and just stomped all over it. And I'm not mad at the dog, because dogs do no wrong. It was the owner who was not in control of the dog and did not seem to care that their dog had just walked on top of my canvas. But it's fine. The canvas was not ruined, and it was not the painting itself. It was a blank canvas that I brought for photo shoot reasons. So, crisis averted. A little bit of a scare, though. Oh, yeah. No, Brittany, that would work very nicely. I bet the yellow and, you said like lavender, right? Yeah, it's a nice contrast, purple yellow. Yeah. No, good call, good call. You know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. Okay, with that said, I'm gonna once again pull up the original. We can talk a bit about the ripples and then we can do them together, okay? So as I was describing before, I think the best way to describe these ripples is that we're kind of taking two colors and kind of swirling them together, right? So we have this very dark green. We're not worrying about the light green or the red. We're just dark green, light blue. This dark green, we can see we're kind of carrying it into the light blue areas, like around here, just in little pieces. We're not doing full rings. We're kind of just extending a little bit, extending a little bit. And then light blue, we're doing the same thing, but opposite. We're taking it from the light blue area, bringing it down a little bit, maybe breaking it up a bit. You can see the blue goes a little bit further in. And yeah, all together it creates a nice complete circle. We do that twice, obviously, and then we'll put our leaves on top. So what I like to start with, which you'll see me do in just a moment, is I just like to take my brush with a little bit of water, so no paint, a little less pressure. Just do some swirls. We can kind of see visually where that's going. The water will kind of mix the paint together a little bit. It'll look a little messier and a little like literally watery. But that'll help us kind of get the shape of our ripples. For those who are a little nervous about creating circles, we can kind of do that with a little water first. And then we'll grab some green, or I guess maybe light blue first and then green after. And we'll do some more clean lines. These aren't clean, but you can see how they're bolder, right? We're kind of taking the bold light blue, bringing it in, bringing it in, bringing it in. We'll do the same thing with dark green, bring it out, bring it out, bring it out. And then that way it looks a little more defined rather than just using water, which will be a little more like a ghosty effect you'll see in a moment. Okay, and that's pretty much it. We can keep switching between those two colors, kind of overlapping as we need to, kind of breaking up our lines. That's another important thing to remember. Even though we're going to be creating clean lines, there's a little bit of like broken up areas, you know. It makes it look a little more wavy and natural if we break up these lines a bit. But yeah, I'll go over all that stuff while we're legitimately painting them on here. All right, so for now, as I promised, we're just going to take a nice wet brush and do some circles. So I'm using the medium round again. If it helps, you can maybe like just take your brush and kind of poke where you want your little leaf to land, like right here, for example. If you want to even use some paint just to visualize it, here, I'll grab a little white. Let's say our leaf is kind of going in this area. Maybe the other leaf goes like here. Just so you can see. It might help to have a center point, right? And those will be covered up, so don't worry about those. But yes, my main idea is taking the medium round brush with some water on it. So I did dip it in the water intentionally. I wouldn't say it would be better, but you could use it, Brittany, for sure. Because we're not really looking for like a shape with the tip of the brush. It's more so just the stroke itself. So if you'd prefer just using a flat, you could totally do that, yeah. And it would give variation with the thickness of the line. You could use the full width for a thicker line. You could use the thin edge for a thinner line. So yeah, try that. That would work nicely. All right, so again, medium round brush with water. Just gonna swirl. Oh, I'm picking up some red. You can see some pink happening. That's okay. I'm not too worried about that. A lot of this will be covered up when we actually get some paint in there. So if you pick up a little pink or red because we just laid the red down, don't worry. If anything, it'll help you see it a little more visually, I guess. But yeah, even if you don't kind of run into any paint, you can see the water. It almost like dirties up the canvas a little bit. It kind of rubs the existing paint off of the canvas, so in the blue area you'll see it a little more white. In the green area you might see kind of the bottom layers of blue a little bit showing through. But yeah, the idea right now is not to get a nice clean ripple, it's just to kind of shape things out. We just want to see the shape and get comfortable with the circle. Getting a nice round circle. So I did start in the middle, and I'm working my way out. Kind of like a spiral. It doesn't need to be a clean spiral, though. Oh, look, I grabbed some green. That's totally fine. It's all just helping you for the next steps later, okay? And again, you can kind of already see the effect happening, right? With the water, it looks literally like water, so it is helping us a little bit. And this can, yeah, help you decide how big you want the ripple. I'm going to bring it out a little more, maybe. I would say the edge of this first ripple, I'm working in the bottom left, by the way. Edge of this first ripple, like the very outside edge, I would say reaches the very middle of our canvas. If my middle is right here, you can see it's just about touching there. And I'm aiming for the middle because I like the two ripples kind of hitting each other a bit. You can see in my original how the two ripples overlap a little bit at the very edge. If you'd rather keep them a little more separate, you can just keep them a little smaller. But I like the idea of them kind of colliding into each other. See that happen in there? So again, nothing super clean, nothing super bold. It's just kind of there as a ghost right now. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, it might just take some testing out, Brittany, and then you can decide. There you go. But yeah, maybe, again, maybe you like the medium flat when we add paint, because I do like that idea that you could kind of use both edges and have some thicker ripples and some thinner ones. Here I go with the second one. I'm now working in the top right, starting in the middle and kind of swirling. I guess your one thing to be careful of is see if you use lots of water, it might drip a little bit. Totally easy to save, just use your finger to kind of stop it. If it drips a little bit, you can cover that with light blue once it's dry. But yeah, maybe chill a little bit on the water. Enough that you can see what you're painting, but not enough that it's going to drip all the way down. Cool, right? Gonna do a little bit more of that. I saw a follow earlier. Is it Hiskos? Thanks for the follow. Sorry, I missed that. We're doing a step-by-step tutorial right now, so I'm kind of switching between teaching and chatting with chat, so excuse me if I miss anything. Wow, 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 wow. But yeah, I guess the medium round, I just stick to the medium round because that's what I consistently use, but it does allow you to get a nice little tip, you know, to do these swirls with. Less brush to worry about, less bristles to worry about because they all meet together at the end. Okay, and then again, size-wise, you can see I'm doing it just big enough so that it meets the other ripple. And enough that, again, it's kind of overlapping some green and then overlapping some blue. So however that looks for your canvas, you can adjust as needed. Okay, just give it a quick minute. Again, you won't see it very cleanly visually, but this is more for practice for you. I'm glad you tried either way, though, Brittany. Good to experiment with the different brushes. We get, at least I get so used to those three that I've been using. And I don't want to say more recently, but more and more I have been reminding myself that I have different brushes. I have different tools I can use. I don't need to limit myself to what I have here. With the three, I mean. Oh, I just realized my Discord notification didn't go out. Sorry, y'all are about to get a little notification if you're in Discord. No, 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 no. Oh, either work. Either work, Brittany. I did kind of describe them as both. I started, I think, by saying circles and then I said swirling out. Swirling just kind of gives you the motion of going from middle to outside. Or you can do individual. It's too messy right now for it to really matter, I guess. Oh yeah, it probably won't look correct for now, but that's okay. I would wait until the next couple steps to start to ask more questions. But yeah, right now you can see they're very ghost-like. They might look a little messy. Things might be a little drippy. Mine is definitely being a little drippy in the middle here, and that's okay. That's okay. But yeah, if you are concerned, definitely let me know what's going on and I can do my best to help. But yeah, the main steps are coming up. Okay, I'll just give another minute just in case anyone's still playing around. And I do want the water to not be quite as fresh and wet. It'll be nice to use for blending, but I just don't want it too watery on the canvas. Manage your drips. If you see anything dripping, you can stop them with your finger. You can grab a paper towel or Kleenex and just kind of tap a little bit if you need to. Only if you really see it like coming down the canvas a bit. We just don't want it to ruin anything else, you know? All my white paint is hiding on the other side of my big plate, my volcano plate. Which is still going strong, by the way. Here, I'll give you a little visual. Those who haven't seen, I paint using this giant volcano. This started as a paper plate that I just wanted to continue to reuse rather than creating a new palette each time. And acrylic paint dries, right? So I can keep stacking new fresh paint on top. It creates a volcano shape eventually. This is 2.5 years of painting. Two and a couple months, maybe? Yeah, he's 2 years old and 3 months now. Just a baby. But yeah, this is what I mean by my paint was hiding. I can see this side. I can't really see this other side when it's sitting where it is. Oh, he's a heavy boy. Crazy, right? Yeah, there you go, Brittany. I think so too. Yeah. Crazy, isn't it? The other one is still behind me, right here. You can see the insides there. Barn, hey, looks like my sign. Yeah, I know, right? Except it doesn't explode all cool. It's just solid paint. It's just solid as a rock. But yes, it is a little science project-esque. Welcome, Barn. How have you been? Okay, switching back to our next step here. Now that we have our little ghosty circles just for reference and for guidance, I'm going to start by using our light blue for the steps that I just described. The reason I'm starting with light blue is because it's a lighter color. So I want to use that a little cleaner for my ripples. And then the dark green will be easier to incorporate into the light blue. Rather than trying to add light blue after we have a bunch of dark green on the canvas and it might mix together a little too much. That's why I try and use the lighter color first. I think there's a better chance it'll kind of go on a little cleaner if we're not messing with all this dark green that's sitting on the canvas. Okay, so you don't need to start anywhere in particular. You can start in the middle or on the outside. That's fine. But I guess I would say I would start in the light blue area and work your way in. So whether it's, again, closer to the middle or outside is fine. I'll start on the outside. So I have my light blue on my medium round brush. I kind of just breezed past that, didn't I? I have my medium round. I've remixed some light blue, just anything similar to your background color. It doesn't need to be exact, just as close as possible. And I'm starting on the light blue area and I'm going to work my way into the green. So I'm going to start right here, for example. I'm going to try and do kind of cleaner lines this time. So I'm not zipping around and round and round anymore. I'm going a little slower, a little more precise. So here's my light blue. I'm going to bring it into the dark green and just kind of let it fade away. So by fade away, I mean I'm just kind of using my brush, stroking in, and then maybe giving it a little flick at the end so it has maybe a little bit of a tip. But it just kind of ends. I don't want to say abruptly, but kind of. It does kind of just end abruptly. So we're not going to be creating full circles. We're going to be creating little lines that all come together into circles. Let's show another one here. We're going to come down. We're going to come into the green. Give a little flick at the end. Just so it kind of tapers off rather than just halts. We just don't want it to like be a big stroke that just stops like that with that very like harsh edge at the end. I want it a little like tipped maybe. That's fine. Or even if your brush kind of like runs out of paint as you're coming along and it kind of looks like a little bit of a dry brush at the end or a dry stroke, that works as well. And you can see I'm just doing that a few times here, and then I'm going to work maybe closer into the middle here for smaller circles. Doing the same thing, just kind of bringing it in into the green and then doing my little flick at the end. Just going nice and slow. Again, we don't need to rush this part. I guess I should mention, as I'm doing this, you can see I am leaving little gaps in between, so I'm not making a full big area of my light blue. I'm not going to be solidly connecting all these. I do want to keep them separate so that you can kind of see different strokes. They're all a little bit separated. I don't want them to all combine into one big mass, right? Because even though we are using a light blue that's as close as possible to the background, it's still going to be a little different. So you will see the differences between this blue that you're adding, the blue that was existing. Even as you're adding it, I'm sure the color's changing a little bit and you'll be able to see all those nice little individual rings by keeping them separated like that. You can even intentionally do that by adding maybe a little more blue to your paint. Maybe you get a bit of a brighter blue in there rather than a super light blue. Just all little mini variations of the colors you've already used. Okay, so I would say these are pretty thick strokes that I'm doing right now, very bold as you can see. Oh, Pops, hey. Welcome. We're doing a little step-by-step painting tutorial. If you have any questions about what I'm doing, feel free to ask. Okay, so I've only kind of started with, let's call these like C shapes, right? It's almost like a backward C shape. I'm really just starting from the blue, working in a little bit. Starting from the blue, working in a bit. So I haven't even got to the other side of the ripple yet. We're kind of making almost like half a ripple here. We're like slicing it in half and just focusing on the outside. And again, I would say up until this point, I've done pretty thick strokes. I've been using the width of my medium round brush and then just doing a little flick at the end. There's little thin bits at the ends, but the ripples themselves, decently thick, decently thick. But yeah, you can see how it's already looking a little cleaner. It's still obviously not our end product that we're looking for, but it's already looking a little cleaner here than it was just moments ago. Just giving a quick minute in case anyone's adding those. I know these first couple steps might be a little intimidating for the ripple, so just take your time. I'm just kind of messing around and cleaning up little edges here, making my circle nice and round. Looking at the very outside edge, right? That kind of defines the whole shape as the outside edge there. Oh, the couch is the starting soon screen bar. I'm so sorry. So know that you have a little icon that's sitting on a couch on our starting soon screen, but you can't see the starting soon screen right now. Oh, it's okay, Brittany, as long as you're following along and listening to my instruction just for later whenever you're ready, or if you need me to repeat, you can. You can ask, I mean. I can repeat it, you can ask. All right, so from here, I would say the next thing I start to do is kind of complete the whole ripple in that I try and kind of connect these half circles here. So by kind of connect, I mean we're not going to do a nice thick stroke like we've been doing. I want to now think about doing thinner strokes, and I want to kind of break them up a little bit. So we're not doing a solid line. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to choose any of my little half circles I've created. I'm using the same color, that light blue, on my medium round brush. I'm going to use a little less pressure, kind of focusing more with using the tip of the brush as well. And I'm going to kind of just sketch in the rest of our circle very lightly. And by sketching in, I mean, again, we're not doing a consistent line all the way around. I'm kind of doing these small little lines that when all connected kind of form a half circle, but Here, let me shift this up here. But yeah, in the meantime, they're all actually very broken up. Oh, it was stuck. There we go. So doing my best to maintain the very round circular shape of all of these curves, kind of allowing them to follow along where they're aiming. Doing these tiny little lines, just all very broken up. And yes, don't forget the edges. I will do a couple on the edge. There we go. Okay, I would say the hardest part about this is keeping like a consistent, very round circle. Just keep in mind, again, you can always go over top of things. If you maybe do one and it looks like you kind of cut the circle a little bit too harshly, you can cover up that ripple later, or you can use it for a different ripple, you know, a different kind of circle within your ripple. So don't worry too much with your first little one you're doing. I would just keep going with this method, see how it all looks together. And I think it's easier to later on maybe cover up some of these with some greens, especially because we'll be using green in our next step. You can kind of use that paint to cover up anything you don't like if it's getting a little too messy anywhere. Like this curve, for example, I think kind of cuts in a little too quickly. I'll just kind of break that up later with some green, and we won't notice it later. It's only noticeable now because it's there's not too many on the painting. And while we're doing these thin lines, I'm also going to start kind of filling up maybe in between our thicker lines. See how I'm just adding these tiny little guys in between. Again, very broken up. We don't need them consistently all the way around. But that way we're still maintaining some gaps, but still adding some details to the ripple just by adding these very thin lines that go in between the ones that are already existing. See how that's starting to form? And we're only halfway there, so it's only going to get better. Table, chair. Unfortunately, you can't sit on the table or chair. Only the couch. Only the 3-seated couch. So yes, just a delicate hand. We're not pressing too hard. Kind of like wisping them in almost. You're like, oh, excuse me there. You're just hardly touching the canvas. Just kind of lifting on and off as you go around. I'm getting closer to the middle now, just doing the same thing. Nothing changes as I get closer to the middle or the outside. It's all the same. And the middle, I should say, we will cover up with a leaf soon, right? So don't worry too much about what's going on in the middle. You can use it as kind of practice to see the overall look, but the majority of this middle will be covered with a leaf. So if you're panicking about anything in the middle, stop panicking. Stop it right now. Because yeah, it'll be covered up. Okay, and you can see in mine, I'm getting some mixture of paints here too. Some color mixture, like some red is kind of moving in and out because that was the freshest color that we had applied before this next step, right? And personally, I like that effect. I like seeing all the colors kind of move together. If you're someone who wants it a little cleaner, you're just going to have to wait a couple more minutes for the red to dry, and then you can go back on top with some light blue or some green or whatever you want. Panic. No panic. Everyone starts panicking. Oh my gosh. It's as if the chat does the opposite of what I suggest and request. What if I told you to panic? What would you do? You would still panic, wouldn't you? There's no winning here. There's no winning. Okay. So, if you want, you can keep using this light blue and apply it to the second ripple. If you're someone who likes to kind of stick with the same paint color and just kind of apply it everywhere, you can now move to the second ripple, do the exact same thing. We're just kind of not even doing the opposite. It's just an opposite layout. So the middle's more here, and then you're bringing it in up top. If you'd rather work ripple to ripple, you can wait a little bit for the next step, and then you can move to the next ripple and start over with the light blue. It's however you want to work. There's different ways to do it for sure. Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to do some thick strokes going all the way around, coming in. I think that one cut in a little too quickly, honestly. This should be more like this. Don't be afraid to, yeah, have some kind of fall off the canvas, right? Not all of them are going to do a complete circle on your canvas. Some will fall off, so don't hesitate to do that. Yeah, second ripple, same idea. Light blue, starting in the light blue area, doing some thicker semicircles coming into the green. And then we'll fill it up with some thinner lines and more broken up lines as well. What is that one, Emma? Is that like a potato? Oh no, Brittany. Maybe wait for the next step with the green just to see. I know there's a lot of trust in that, but I would probably wait just to see how the second one goes as well. Because the green does help clean up things as well and kind of pull it together. But yeah, if you're still having some issues, definitely let me know. As you know, you can always throw me a little photo and I can give you a little more detailed instruction. There's nothing like seeing the actual painting, so I can help out. But yeah, if you want to type out anything, feel free. Okay, so I'm breaking up some lines, doing some thinner lines. I don't have as much green area to work in here. I'm doing my best with what I've got, so just kind of overlapping little bits. And yeah, still make sure you're doing some lines within the blue, because you'll still see those strokes even if the color is really close to your original color. You'll still see those motions of your brush. So it may seem silly that you're putting light blue on light blue, but I would say it's important for this. Still want to see those ridges all the way around. Oh, there's more. Wow. They're very expressive. They are great. I like them hokey. I enjoy them. And again, I'm not worried as much about the middle. I'll just do a quick swirl there. Ta-da! I think I spaced my circles. Oh, too much. Oh, well, that's a good problem to have, because then you can really fill them up with thinner lines. That'll really give some more detail to the ripples, doing the thinner lines rather than thick ones that are too tight together. So yeah, you got room to kind of play around. That's good news, I think. And again, the green might help with that. It'll be a more distinct, a darker color to really fill up those gaps with. Even in the green areas, you can still kind of use that to use your little strokes with. Create some more ridges. For the second leaf, are you doing a full circle or same? Same. So just the process I was describing, I start with semicircles. It's just part of like the step is to do more of a semicircle, and then I complete them with the thinner lines and the more broken up lines. But yeah, same thing, full circle, or at least as full as you can. You can see mine falls off the canvas, I guess, technically. But the intention is another full circle, yes. Wow, 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 no. Okay, I'm just going to slowly prep my dark green. I'm still giving another minute or two if you're playing around with the blue. So yeah, any green that's similar or the same as the first green we were using. So that was the blue, yellow, red mixture, the darker one. But yeah, again, it doesn't have to be exact. If anything, having it a little different is nice so that you can really see even when it's on top of the green, right? Green on the green. Okay, so let me show you the green, just because again, it's pretty much the same step, it's just opposite. I'm going to start with my medium round brush with my green, and this time I'm starting in the green area. and I'm working my way out to the blue area. So it's as if I'm extending the green into the blue, but same idea. I'm starting with some thicker strokes and then trying to give a little flick at the end, or at least just allowing my brush to like run out of paint. So it looks like it's kind of fading away there in the water. Anything that doesn't come to an abrupt halt, you know? Yeah, thicker, spaced out. And I am kind of going in between the blue, but if I overlap the blue, it's no problem. It's more just a better use of my time, you know, to try and go in between those blue ripples that I've already created. Otherwise, I'm kind of just going backwards, right, by covering them up. But yeah, some coverage will happen here and there, of course. Okay, here I go again. A little thicker and then flicking at the end. Not completing the full circle either. That's why I kind of called them semicircles earlier. Not worried about completing the full circle quite yet. And again, still adding it to the green areas too, just so we can see that in there. Maybe it ends up covering some little red blotches and whatnot. That's fine. And it just kind of makes it look messier, right? Remember how before we had all our leaves and they were nice and clean and we saw some nice gaps. This will kind of close some gaps up, kind of swirl them in together. And that's all good things. Those are all good things. Okay, once I have some good thick strokes on there, I'll do one more in here just to show. Once I have my thicker ones, I'm going to do some thinner ones, either in between. And again, this is maybe where you might overlap, like in between is technically where the blue is, but you can extend them further into the blue, right? So you get that thin line going all the way in. And yeah, keeping them a little more broken up so you can also complete some rings. Just break up your little strokes here. They kind of come down. Oh, that was a little thick, but that's okay. Because again, remember, we can always go back. We can re-add colors. We can try again. If we go over top or mess something up that we liked, we can add it back in. And again, remember I said you can use this green to cover up if you didn't like certain light blue lines or anything got a little thick. Just use this and kind of split up the light blue again. You can just kind of lightly brush over top. It also looks nice blending wise as well, kind of blending the two together. But yeah, you can see how that's really coming together now. Just stick a little leaf in the middle and then we'll be good. But yeah, again, up to you, like how blue you want it, how green you want it. I would say I'm more green heavy in this one. You can really see the green really taking over. If you don't like that, just go back, grab some blue, cover up some of the green, see how it looks. I feel like I could have left this area maybe a little more blue just because there's less green that's kind of reflecting in the ripple. But again, it's still not wrong. The ripple could absolutely be pulling these colors here and kind of reflecting on these little edges. Let me do the same thing to the other one. Yeah, I think those decisions are, once again, like decisions you make when you look at the whole painting later. Take your little step back, see how it's looking, see if any of the colors are like overtaking any other colors. Okay, here's some thick boys coming in. I'm going to try my best to keep these a little more closer to the green this time, just so you can see that difference. A little comes out like right there. Get some thinner ones in there. Again, I'm not going to go all the way around this one. I'm just going to see how it looks if I just do a couple little thin lines kind of ending off here, just so you can see a difference. Kind of the incomplete look. And I guess it makes sense because there's less green to pull from up here, right? So it would look a little less complete with the green. Oh, and you know what? I just realized oh no, I'm good, I'm good. I forgot I added the blue first. I'm fine, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Yeah, just adding some little baby thin lines. Breaking them up a bit. And then maybe stopping there to see how this one's a little less complete because there's less green to kind of pull into the middle. I'm having more of just a blue moment in here, and that's fine. We can still see the nice ripple forming, especially with this one beside it. They kind of complement each other nicely. And that's, yeah, those are the steps. Those are the steps for the ripples. So at this point, not to like keep rushing you through things, this isn't a new step, just saying you can keep playing with it if you want, or you can leave it alone. Usually I recommend leaving it alone just to let it rest a little bit, but yeah, if you kind of feel like you know what's going on, you want to keep playing, you can go back to light blue, you can try that again. Just know that now that we've added the green, you can see it's going to blend with the green, right? So it might get a little messier if you play now, but if you're careful about where you're going and just adding little bits here and there, you should be okay. But otherwise, you can always wait until a little bit later. And then that way you have a nice dry surface to work on and you can do some more clean lines again. Yeah, I can see how I'm kind of going over top of some greens. Maybe they blend a little bit. I don't mind that. Kind of helps them fade out a little more, but I just want to show how you can break up the greens a little bit more with some blue again. Yeah, I like that much better, kind of keeping it a little more blue up top here. A little more open. But yeah, you'll get some wet on wet blending. So wet on wet is when you have both the paint colors wet and you're kind of moving them together right on the canvas. They kind of do what they want as they meet up and mix together on the canvas. You can see how it creates some nice effects. It kind of blurs things out a bit more. Oh, sure. Do you want me to look at it now? I can. If you don't mind some live advice. I see what's going on. You just need more lines, I think, Brittany. Your thick ones are super clean, and that's great because that is the first step. I think you just need more like breaking up. More breaking up. Oh no, you're not holding up. You're good because I'm going to give some time for people to mess around here. Yeah, for those following along, keep working on what you're working on. Giving some live advice. Yeah, I think if anything, Brittany, I think your lines are like almost too defined. Like you have thick line, you got some dotted smalls, you got a thick one, some dotted smalls. I would break up just all of those a little bit more. So by breaking up, I mean that you can either take the green and kind of swirl them within those blue ones to just break them up a bit more. Or you can give a different shade of blue to do that too, like maybe a lighter blue. Just kind of do some more like, you have the broken up lines just on top of your thicker ones, I think, maybe. Because they almost look very like complete most of the way around. At least the top one does. Yeah. Yeah, do the green, because the green will help with that, exactly. It'll help with breaking up the blue a bit more. So do the same thing just with the green now, kind of opposite as I was describing, and I think you might find that that just helps it naturally. Because as you saw with mine, as I was adding the green, it kind of collided with some blues a little bit, it covered up some blues a little bit. Like you see how these ones, they really start to break up in here. Like where did my thick blue line go, right? So maybe the green will just kind of naturally do that for you. Yeah, for sure, for sure. All good. I can see why you're like, I don't know. But yeah, I think this is an instance of just keep going, and see what it does. Because you have followed the instructions I'm giving. I think it's now just kind of putting it together and allowing the two to flow together too. And you'll see that, I think, naturally happen as you add. Cool. You're on your way for sure. And the green's looking good. I know you were saying kind of a lavender, but I see a nice, beautiful green. The yellow looks nice too. Kind of like little sparkles in there. It's cute. Oh wow, I'm almost out of water. I forgot to fill that up. Yeah, still give it a minute or two. I can see we're past 2 hours, but that's okay. That's what happens. Those on YouTube, I guess you saw the length of the video. You don't need to guess. You could have prepared for the time. I think it'll be closer to 2.5 hours. We're just going to get to the leaves next, and then we'll be all good. And as a reminder, the leaves, I'm going to do a white layer so that we can get a nice clean base for our leaves and kind of take our time with shaping them out. And then we can just like color them in essentially with our oranges and yellows. Oh, Jamie, good luck. I hope the headache subsided at least a little bit now. Oh, green, you're good. I start on top of green and go, yep, pretty much. So yeah, the same thing except opposite. So you have your green, rather than starting out here, you're starting in here where the green is, and then boop, going inside like that. Same exact thing, just like mirrored, I would say. Yes. Oh, and then you said in between the blue or on top. I would try at first to go in between, and I think as you go along, you'll start naturally a little bit going on top. Start in between just so you can kind of fill in those gaps. And then as you add your like tiny little ones, you'll definitely be going on top. Hope that's clear. I feel like I said a little bit of both there. Both are correct. Believe it or not. Just to throw one more idea at all of you again as well. Not a required step, not something I specifically did. But if you like the watery look and the watery effect that we started with, you could even just take a brush with no paint on it and just kind of move it in between the colors and see what happens. You can see it kind of fades things away. It's more of a, it's a way to add less harsh ridges, right? Because you're not adding literal paint, you're just kind of moving the paint that exists and allowing it to maybe blur out a bit. So just another idea. I don't want you to overwork anything or feel like you have to do this, but it's just another thought if my technique isn't working for you. Because that's part of painting too, is like figuring out what you like to do and what works for you. Sometimes my instructions help people and they can follow along. Sometimes they kind of do them and they're like, why is she doing it that way? I want to do it this way. Totally fine. That's the cool thing about painting, is that there's so many different ways to do one particular thing. So yeah, if you feel like something's working for you, go ahead and do it. Even if it's just taking a wet brush and going doo 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 doo, that can work. It can work. Oops. Pretty close. I would say I have just a brighter blue in here. I don't know how that happened. A little bit of a brighter blue happening, but it's cute. I think I just color matched a bit nicer there. Do, 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 do. Make sure I have white paint. White paint will be used next as a heads up, so if you don't have white prepared, get a nice clean blob of white. Go. I think I need to wet brush the whole... Yeah, maybe. Just go nice and slow. But yeah, do like 1 or 2 little swirls, see how it looks. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe just like combining a little bit. I just hesitate to really encourage that because it can get quite messy. But at the same time, as I always say, like you can go on top again, right? So even if it like gets too messy or too muddy, you can just let it dry a bit and then you can go back in with your more defined strokes if you want. I'm sure it'll all work out in the end, no matter what order you do. But yeah, that's a good idea. Wah, 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 wah. Okay, on my end, I am going to start doing some leaves here, just so we're not going too long with the toot. I've got my original here I'm going to pull up so I can show you. But I chose to do some maple leaves. Again, you can, of course, change these up. You can do like a, I don't know, other leaves, but more of like a rounder one. maybe a simpler shape because these are a little more complicated, but I personally love the look of the maple leaf, and I will teach you how I did this nice shape here. But yeah, I just do one of each. You can see one is a little more like slightly tilted, one is really tilted. And then I'm going to fill them in with some nice colors, some nice golden yellows, and then some oranges, some little veins in there as a nice detail. What I did to help obtain this shape, if you kind of look at what the veins are doing, you don't need to look at all the specific ones, but we kind of have one main vein that just kind of goes straight up. So that creates the first tip of the leaf. I have one that goes on a pretty clean, like 45? Yeah, 45-degree angle on either side for the next two tips. And then maple leaves have like these two little like mini tips, like they're not as long as the other ones. They're a little shorter and they go a little bit kind of straight out from where the start of all those veins were. So we have straight up, we have two diagonal, and then we have two that are more straight out. If we're looking at where it goes from the stem to the tip of each of those little sections. So I like to start with just the little veins doing that just to kind of show where I'm going. And then I start to outline and do all these little sharp kind of shapes all around and create these little sections of the leaf. So I'll try my best to go through that nice and slow with you. If you're more of just a person who likes to see the shape and kind of work your way through it, then feel free to tune me out and just kind of do your own thing. But this is what helps me at least kind of shape it out to begin with. Just got to peek at mine here, so I'm holding it up. Okay, so I'm just going to choose where the top of my stem is. So we have the stem. I'm choosing like where everything's happening right here, kind of at the bottom base here where the stem ends and the leaf begins. All right. I think I'm going to choose like right here. This is like the middle of my leaf. This is where the little bottom of the stem is, or top of the stem rather. Okay, so as described, I'm going to do a nice line that goes straight up the middle of the leaf, or what will be the middle of the leaf. This is going to be like the top, because remember mine is tilted. Mine's a little 45-degree angle there. So this is kind of going right up the top middle. I'm using white paint. I guess I forgot to mention that. Again, I'm using white paint for the whole base. I'm starting with a medium round. I might switch to a small brush if I want more detail, but for now, medium round just to hold more paint. I'll do two lines going at a 45-degree angle. 1, 2. I'm adjusting lengths here. The middle is maybe a little longer, but for the most part, they're all pretty long. 1, 2, 3. And then two short little guys coming out more just to the side, like that. See that basic shape? It's basically there. Like the bones of the leaf, if you will. And just to be clear, then there's the stem that goes right here, just so you can visualize that. There's a nice little stem. All right. And now it does help to kind of look at the shape as you're doing this as well. So that's why I keep peeking down. I'm looking at my little leaf that I have. Now we're just kind of doing an outline around all of those nice little spikes. So we're creating these, what I call like little sections of the leaf. So you can see how there's a nice big middle here, and then they start to separate just near the ends. So we're just kind of creating those little end pieces, the outline of the leaf. So I'll start down here, and I'm kind of just doing a nice border around. See how I'm kind of outlining with a little section shape? So I just took the tip of my brush. I kind of wiggled it as I went because all around the border of the leaf, there's all these little spikes. There's all these little ridges. It's not like a clean straight line anywhere. So I'm kind of shaking as I go along intentionally, just kind of bordering each of those little bones. So I'll do the other one too, just because they're staying consistent here. We'll keep it symmetrical. Okay, so we got our two little tips on the bottom. They're going to be thinner as well, so I'm keeping these outlines very tight to those little bones. And these guys are going to be longer and thicker, so I'm going to leave a little more space in between the bone and this outline. Bring it to a tip. Shake my way down and back into the middle. Do the same thing on the other side. I'm outlining this little bone or this little line. I'm going to stick with bone just to keep consistent so no one's confused. We're outlining, coming to a tip, outlining, coming down. And then last one, outlining, coming to a tip, outlining, coming down. It's a little shaky, but point is, this gets you most of the way there. You can now fill it in, see how it looks, and adjust. I'm probably going to adjust mine. It's not going to be perfect the first time. You'll start to see, though, like very clearly where the inconsistencies are, what you need to adjust. But yeah, pretty good, right? Pretty good start. Look at that. That's pretty good. Okay, what I'm seeing is a little bit of... It's not quite symmetrical. It's a little floppy. I can see this guy needs to be a little better matched up with this guy. So everything should be kind of splitting in half pretty evenly, right? So if this little bit is going a little up, I want this guy to go a little up as well. That's a little more even. I think this point could be a little further up here, so I'm going to readjust this little point to be maybe here. He's getting a little bigger, and that's okay. We got some nice big leaves on here. And then because I made all of these bigger, I'm going to make this middle guy a little bigger too, a little bigger and taller. I'm just kind of extending the border out. I'm not really changing the border shape. I'm just kind of moving it a little further out. I'm trying to keep it middle. It's maybe a little floppy to the side, but that's okay. Oh yeah, that's much better. And again, looking at it from a distance helps. That's why I'm peering at it at my computer screen, because it's at a distance, so I can really see the shape a little better. Oh, he got a lot bigger, but that's okay. Let's look at that comparison. Oops, I think the last thing I'm kind of missing, which I'll point out on my original leaf here, is the base of the little sections are kind of straight. You can kind of see how there's two parallel lines here, and then it comes in. It's like a little house, you know? How you do the straight lines and then a rooftop. I think that's what this guy is missing here. It looks like I went more for just a triangle look. I think I could do a little better at straight lines. And then a little rooftop. Straight line. Rooftop. Straight lines. And I say this very loosely, right? You don't have to be very clean with those lines. You still want them a little wiggly, but parallel, triangle, parallel, triangle. Yeah, that cleaned it up nicely. Cool. Oh, Brittany, yeah, if that's how you're feeling, no worries at all. I'm running out, Bray. I'm running out of water. I didn't fill this up beforehand. Yeah, sometimes it helps to, as you know, just let it dry, reassess. You got a pretty good portion of it done, I will say. Especially considering, Brittany, you said you haven't painted in so long, right? This was a nice little dip back into it for sure. Then you can work on a nice clean surface for all your leaves as well. I think that'll be nice too. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing over here just to kind of go over again what I did in case you need another refresher. And I'm actually going to flip my canvas because this leaf is pretty much looking to the left. So instead of dealing with everything tilting to the left, I'm just going to make a straight up and down leaf by twisting this. That's a lot easier for me. Okay, let me do the same to my reference and have a look here. I'm going to choose where my stem meets the leaf part, so at the bottom here. I'm going to start with my big line going right up the middle. Two veins that go at 45-degree angles. And two little mini guys that kind of jet out just to the sides here. Maybe they're a little bit of an angle. I feel like I said straight out before, but maybe angled a little bit. But point is they're shorter. I'm going to border them. Come to a tip. Back in. Come to a tip. Back in. And I'll kind of incorporate my step that I said at the end there, like the little house shape. I'll try and kind of show that right now. So I'm bordering with two parallel lines. And then I bring them in to a little tip. Two parallel lines. Bringing them up to a little tip. And then last one. 2 little lines to a tip. Fill it in. See how it looks. Filling it in always really helps. I know it's always scary kind of doing the little sketch. Really helps, in my opinion, to see it all together. So fill it in and then adjust. Decent again. I think I could get these guys a little further out though. Yeah, my tips are always a little too far up, I think. Too far tilted up, you know? They need to tilt out a little bit more. Shaky, shaky, and down. More middle. There we go. And then a little stem. Ta-da! Great. I will admit my leaves got pretty big, but that's okay. This image is just closer up than my original. But yeah, they still make sense. They're not like outrageously huge. The ripple is still surrounding them, still a lot bigger, so that's good. Spirals are good. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, and I can understand too, like working with 2 wet paint colors while trying to maintain some clean lines with some blending. I think that can be a little complicated. So yeah, you do what you gotta do. If you wanna watch the rest, feel free. But otherwise, I'll, as I was saying earlier, do my absolute best to get this on YouTube as quick as possible. And I will say, for those who are like familiar with Twitch and watching now, the video's instantly available when I'm done. I more so put it on YouTube because I know some people don't use Twitch, and that's totally fine. But yeah, if you're anxious to paint tomorrow and I don't have it uploaded to YouTube, technically you can come back to this Twitch channel and view it just the same. Oh, sent another picture. Sure, okay. Awesome. I'll give you some suggestions later on if that's okay. If you want more. Otherwise, it sounds like I think you just want a little bit of a break and you can reassess later. Okay, I'm just smoothing out my white paint. I'm not doing anything super specific. I'm just smoothing it out to allow it to dry a little quicker. If the paint is really blobby, it'll take a few extra minutes. It's still pretty quick, but not the fastest. So I'm just going to smooth this out as everyone else is maybe working on their shape still. And then all that's left is kind of coloring them in and adding those little vein details and adjusting if you need to. But shapes are all there. Pretty good. I'll be curious if anyone chooses any other like leaf shapes or even just other objects that could be floating in the water. I'm struggling to think of what like naturally might be floating in a puddle, but because like when I think of ripples too, I think of like throwing a rock in. And I don't know how you would like paint that, like the rock entering the water. But you could just do like plain ripples, I guess, as a result. I think I need a break from it, but I have time. Oh yeah, like at the end. Sure, for sure. Yeah. No, that's good, Brittany. Good mindset. You know what is best. I think for some, it's just hard to complete a whole painting sitting down to like for, one session, which is totally fair. I think a lot of people prefer to like start things and then reassess after and revisit. Some people do like multiple paintings at once for that reason, so they can do a little bit, switch to something else, and then they're not too concentrated on one thing for too long. I don't want to say I'm like that yet, but I feel like I'm getting closer to doing that, like having a couple things on the go and picking at them. It gives for some variety. It gives for some like fresh thinking each time you revisit. It's a good idea, I think. These won't need to be totally dry, but I'm doing my best to give a little extra time for that. It'll be a little easier if they are. Mine are kind of tacky right now, I would say. This is where we need a little mini fan. There's a straw in this thing, so maybe the straw is just not hitting the water. No, it's pretty empty. It's pretty empty. This thing has been great, though. Great purchase, in my opinion. It seems obnoxious, but honestly, it has been keeping me hydrated, and I need all the help I can get with that. Excellent choice. Do 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 do. Oh, by the way, for those who are watching on Twitch and are curious about Sunday, I'm gonna be playing Stardew Sunday. I don't care about the update anymore. I care about the update. I don't care about waiting for the update anymore. I've been having fun playing it offline. So I'm gonna play it with all of you on Sunday. You can all watch as I make a lot of money on my farm. Because that's all I'm doing at this time. Just getting rich quick. Yeah, I'm feeling a Stardew day, so that'll be Sunday. That'll be good to look forward to on Sunday. And then we'll hope the following week that we get an update. We will see. Do 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 do. But yeah, new update still looks really fun. I've been watching so much content. It looks so good. Joja Path, no! I'm not doing a new farm, that's the thing. I've already been a good farmer in my other one. So I have no choice now. Joja's gone. I'm on like year 7. It's long gone. Joja was kicked out of Pelican Town a long time ago. Never have I had the urge to do a Joja run. I'm too pure. Down with the big company. But I have learned since then that going the Joja path opens up some other opportunities that I would like right now. Items that you can buy instead of looking for in caves and in mining, which would be quite beneficial. I want an auto petter. It's a little device that automatically pets your animals, so they're all happy all the time. And I have 4 of them, and I'd like 2 more. And I haven't been able to find them just by luck. And I would have loved to purchase them by now. But I don't have that option, because I was good. Anyway. How we doing? Kinda sticky. I'll leave you for a minute or 2 more. You do? What? I don't know anyone always did that. That's crazy. What are the other benefits other than the auto petter specifically? Like I really don't know much else aside from that. Doesn't it mean bad things in the end? Doesn't it mean, because if the big company takes over, what happens to everything else? I heard like the prices change as a result. I don't know how true that is, but you know, I don't want to say I agree with you, but I don't like Pierre. Pierre's character is kind of a little dink. There's a little scene where Pierre tries to fleece all of the townspeople, and he's not so good. He's not so good. He's got his own little greedy little hands and things too. What was the scene? The scene was like, it's after you do a little challenge where you like have to give him a bunch of goods, right? And then there's a scene like immediately after where he's reselling your goods for like 10 times the price or something, and everyone's like, that's outrageous. And you have to choose whether to like call him out on it or not. But yeah, he kind of a fraud. He kind of trying to take advantage because he knows he's the only one with goods like that. I think he calls the food like organic or something, and then he raises it by 10 times the amount, and everyone's upset. Oh, it's faster. That's interesting. It probably is, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the whole appeal is that Joja Mart has things for cheaper, and so you want to take advantage of the cheaper things. I know you're a fan, Todd. I know. Have you started a new farm and romanced her quite yet? You're such a super fan of her. It's so fun. But I am happy to learn from you. It's for good reason. She cleans up her act later. Cause she's really rude at the start. Oh, you have. Good for you. Trying, yes, yes. What is she like? I think flowers, right? Like daffodils and stuff, maybe. I wouldn't know. I never try and romance her. She's so rude at the start. It'll be like, she's ignoring you. Like, no one else does that. Oh, 6. That's pretty good. Yeah, you're rolling. You're rolling. Do 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 do. I have Stardew music in my head. She hates healthy food and loves flowers. Fall 1, year 1. Pretty good. It's a lot of time. Yeah, flowers is what I remember for her. Or maybe like expensive gems and stuff, but flowers for sure. Sunflowers, maybe? Anyway, I'm testing my knowledge. Okay, this is still kind of sticky, this white. If you need more time, of course, take your time, pause the video, whatever you gotta do, but I'm gonna get through these last bits just so we're not going too long here. So here's one more visual. I know you can see the one above me, or above me here. Excuse me. But yeah, here's a nice close-up visual of my leaf. So I chose to do like more of a golden yellow leaf and then an orange leaf. So for both of them, what I start by doing is just choosing one main color, so gold, yellow, orange, filling in the whole leaf. And then as it's still wet, you can add in all these little like shades and the little veins and stuff. I like adding it while it's still wet so it all kind of blends together. The veins become more subtle if you're adding them on top of a wet surface rather than like a very clean, distinct line each time. So once we add our base colors, we're going to go straight in with maybe a little bit of a darker version of our base color. So for the golden yellow, I'll use a little bit of orange. Just kind of like tap it in or stroke it in and allow it to mix with the yellow. And then I'll create a little bit of a darker color, so maybe more like an orangey brown color. And I'll start to put in the little veins. And as you can see, kind of like our ripples, the lines kind of come in and out, right? So you can still see indications of the lines, but maybe they kind of fade away. Maybe they break up a little bit. And that's nice so that it's not like a really distinct, line all the way inside here. We're not seeing all the exact vein ridges. We're just seeing little bits and little hints of it for that detail. And same with the orange. You can see we have orange. I'll dot in some kind of red colors just for some shading. And then I actually use a lighter color for the veins so it pops off of the darker orange color, but same idea. Kind of like broken up, a little less clean and less distinct. Okay, so I'll do all that one at a time. I think I'll do one leaf at a time just so I'm not going from leaf to leaf to leaf to leaf. We can concentrate on one at a time here. Oh, she hates who hates the prismatic shard? What the heck? What the heck? All right, so for the first color, I'm starting with a golden yellow. So I'm taking my medium round brush. I'm mixing together lots of yellow with the tiniest amount of red. A tiny bit of red is going to turn the yellow into more of a golden yellow color. And I call it golden yellow rather than orange because it's like so close to yellow. It's just like a warmer yellow. Yellow's already warm, but the gold makes it a little warmer, or the red makes it a little warmer. In addition to that, I add a little bit of white. If you painted with me before, you know it's because I want that yellow to be nice and opaque. I don't want it to be transparent, and the white really helps with keeping it very clean, very thick on top of the white. The white base will help with that as well. That's why we did the white base, so that we're not worried about coverage with the color. But still, I do add a little bit of white to my golden yellow. So as a review, again, that was lots of yellow, tiny bit of red to make it more golden, and then some white to reduce the transparency. I'm just going to add that around the entire leaf. Need to mix more here. And I'm really just, it's like a coloring book. I'm just filling it in. We've done all the hard work with the shape. We just gotta go right on top of it now and fill it in. Covering up all that white. And again, so it does help that the white is completely dry, but even if it's like kind of tacky, you can just kind of lightly go on top. Layer it right on top of the white. You can see I'm still doing the little wiggly motion as I'm going around the edges to keep all those nice little ridges and sharp points. This is pretty bright yellow, actually. I could have added a little more red to this. It's still a little golden, but probably could have made it a little more golden than that. Still nice. Anyway, glad you're all Stardew hyped. Everyone perked up when I started talking about Stardew. I just can't stay away. I just can't stay away. Update or no update, it's a great game. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, this is a little farming simulator game that's been out for many years, but it continuously gets some updates. And everyone's very excited about the most recent update. There we go. Okay. So those are base color, a nice golden yellow. So as I described, I'm first going to add some what I call like shading so that we get some variation in color rather than just one flat color. So for the golden yellow, I'm going to use some orange for the shading. So to make orange, I'm just going to add a little more red to my current mixture. So that mixture being lots of red or lots of yellow, a little bit of red, a little bit of white. I'm now adding a little extra red to it, and that'll make it more of an orangey tone. And I just kind of do some little strokes with it. So I'm kind of starting on the edges, working my way in, stroking right on top of the golden yellow. And you can see as I move my brush around more without adding more paint to it, the orange starts to kind of come off of the brush and go onto the canvas, of course, and then mix in with the golden yellow is mainly what I was going for there. So we have some areas that are nice and orange. We have some that are kind of in between. Then we have some that are just still nice and golden yellow. I'm going to grab more orange. Same thing. I'm just going to go, I like going from the tips. I feel like, again, that's maybe where the light is hitting a little bit. Things start to change a little quicker. But yeah, you can really do this anywhere. You can go kind of in the middle here. You can use it to kind of like define your little sections a bit more. Remember those 5 sections? If you maybe use the orange to like bring down some edges a little bit. Still blending them though, of course. Nothing harsh. You can kind of start to see those little sections form a little bit better. A little bit clearer. And again, do this as much or as little as you like. I'm going to do this a little more, but not too much. I still want this mainly to be a golden yellow leaf. You can see I'm really just kind of like dotting a little bit of my brush, kind of rolling it around. Just very lightly too, just lightly moving the bristles so that the paint mixes with the other color, the 2 colors mixed together. Nothing really smooth. I'm not doing large strokes, just kind of rolling it around. You can see I'm even twisting it in my hands. Kind of so it looks a little blotchy in a way. It's blended but blotchy. Cute. Okay. And then lastly for the little veins, I add a little bit of black to the color I was just using. That'll kind of make the orange into more of like a burnt orange. You can call it maybe bordering like a brown color. Just anything kind of darker and more rustic than the orange is what we're looking for. I'll pull this up so I can see. Okay. And then you can either use a tiny detail brush for this, or you can really just use the tip of your medium round brushes, which is what I'm going to do here. And just very lightly kind of form these little veins or ridges within the leaf. So we're almost recreating what we started with, just thinner and with a little more detail. So let's start by recreating what we started with here. I'm just using the tip of the brush this time with that little bit of brown. I'm going to do a nice thin line going up. Because we're working on wet paint, you can see what may happen, and it's happening with mine, is my brush kind of just, instead of applying paint, it kind of just moves the paint existing. It almost creates a little like valley or ridge within the paint itself without adding color. And that's okay too, because again, that'll keep it nice and subtle. See how there's some brown here, but this is more just like a ridge that's formed. That's great. That's like exactly what we want, because we don't want these lines to be solid and distinct. They're just kind of there. make another one. We're going to go from the bottom and kind of meet with the tip of this section here. So that's the idea. We're trying to go to the up the middle-ish, up to the tip of each section that we've created. One over here. And once again, you can use the method of like lifting your brush off, putting it back on, just to keep the lines a little more broken up, a little more natural. That little guy there. That little guy there. Okay, and then to add even more detail, we're going to work off of the ridges that we just created, or the veins or the bones, or one of the many terms I've been calling these throughout this tutorial. And we're going to create some kind of diagonal lines coming off of these veins and meeting with the edges of each of the sections. So here's the top section here. I'm going to start at the little vein in the middle. I'm going to do some little angled lines coming up and out and meeting up with that outside edge on both sides. So they're kind of like little V shapes, if anything, because they kind of start in the same spot and then veer out. We're doing the same thing with each section. So we're starting down here, coming up, coming up, coming up. Same on the other side. I want to add one more in there. And they don't need to be perfectly symmetrical. I think for the most part it's symmetrical, but yeah, don't worry about matching exactly is all I'm saying. If you have a vein that doesn't match up perfectly with the other side, or it doesn't mirror the other side, that's totally fine. Couple in here. And you can see I'm kind of wobbling them again. I'm not making any perfectly straight lines anywhere. I like them kind of wobbly. I'll add a little to the stem, why not? There he is! And once again, just like with our leaves that we were doing, if you want to go back with any of those previous colors, you want to break up any of the ridges or the lines you just made, just tap on some more color. I'm just kind of going right on top of what I did just to break things up a little bit. Maybe wherever I think it's a little harsh or a little thick. And that's good with me. I'm going to do the same thing on the other leaf now, just with different colors. I guess one more comment I'll say too, you can choose how much time you spend on this, of course. Like, I think that's totally a great leaf. If I wanted to get even more detailed, what I would do is go in and make like very distinct little points along this edge. If you really look at a maple leaf, you'll see that each of these veins kind of come to a tiny little point within this little area. So if you wanted to do that, you could really get nice and detailed and do all these teeny little tips everywhere. But yeah, for the purpose of this, I'm gonna leave her there. Oh, Abigail is the gem eater. That's funny. Haley hates gems. Never mind. I got the greenhouse by the end of year one. It's good stuff. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I think that'd be hard pressed if you do community center. After leaving my painting for a short while, walking back to the room, it doesn't look hopeless. There you go! There you go! Sure. Oh yeah, no worries. I'll probably respond to you tonight, and that way you can have it ready for tomorrow. It's no worries at all. All it takes sometimes. Isn't that great? It was like, what, 10 minutes? And you're like, hey. There you go. Okay, so exact same scenario, just different colors now. So I'm now on my palette here mixing an orange to start with, so that's going to be yellow and red. And I do still add a little bit of white just for that transparency issue. And again, like maybe your yellow doesn't have this issue. I just know with every yellow I've tried it has the same issue, so I exclusively recommend doing that. Same thing, filling her in, color it in. Tyrannosaurus, hey! Welcome! You caught us right at the end of a little toot here. I'm just finishing up our leaves. I have one quick step after filling in these leaves. And we're all good. How have you been? Have you set up for April yet? bullet journal wise. I attempted a cookie theme and I'm not loving it, but it was a fun try. I screwed up on some colors, okay? Had all my lovely browns and beiges and I used the wrong color to fill in the cookie. Tragic. But I still had fun, and that's what counts. It's the markers we made along the way or something like that. Okay, brighter orange. For the shadow or whatever you want to call it, the other color, I'm going to add red now instead of sticking with my yellows and oranges. I'm just going to go straight in with some red. Same ideas down here. I just kind of like dot it on or roll my brush around, allow it to mix with the orange. So as the paint is running out, I still use the brush so it kind of moves the paint around, allows it to blend. Kind of tapping, kind of just moving it around. And again, I like to stick to the edges mostly, but I'll maybe bring it into the middle a little bit. There we go. It's not even like shadows, right? It's just maybe the leaf that is kind of turned a little more in certain areas. The sun has hit it a little more in some spots. Cute. I guess I'll give a quick minute. I feel like I whipped through those two steps. Even though they're similar, still a little different, so take your time. I'll leave a minute. I think I need to remember that most paintings aren't done in a minute. Honestly, yeah, like, I love the tutorial method of teaching something step by step fully all the way through. But yeah, I feel like the more I paint too and the more I learn from others, like things take more time, you know? It doesn't need to be all done at once. So we can call it an accomplishment if it's halfway done or we just did a little bit for sure. No, I get that. Me too. Again, it's been an interesting transition for me too, Brittany. I felt for a while I felt so like locked in to that process and locked into the idea of like things being completed pretty quickly. I don't know if you heard me talking about earlier this big commission I've done. It's a 30-inch by 40-inch. So it's like double this. At least double. No, around double. 20 times 4 is 40, so yes. Anyway, point is, it's pretty much exactly double. Anyway, the whole point of me saying this is that took me so long. And it was a great lesson that things take time and like I needed to do many, many sessions on it. And it produced a really great result, but obviously I couldn't do it in one sitting. So yeah, it was a good test of patience, but I'm glad I did it. So yeah, and just because it's on a smaller canvas too doesn't mean it needs to be done quicker. It's not just exclusive to a bigger canvas, right? So yeah, I'm glad you're kind of learning that too though, because it took me a long time to kind of learn that as well. To be fair, it's because I was like teaching them for 6+ years, but it was hard to get out of that. I'm good. I've not set up, but I'm looking forward to it. Maybe tomorrow. You have a couple more days. Like how yours isn't exactly the same. Yeah, whenever I do this kind of stuff, I always agonize over the tiniest details to make sure it's an exact copy, and then when it's not, because I'm not a machine, I'm disappointed. There you go. And that's something I, forgot to remind everybody of, because it's important to know. And yeah, I don't know if you know Tyrannosaurus. I painted this one. So like, it's just further proof how they always turn out different. Even I cannot recreate exactly what I recreated earlier, right? So how can I expect anyone else to? And again, it does add to the beauty of all the art that everyone's is a little bit different and everyone has these little pieces that give theirs a little extra tweak, you know? It makes them all unique. If they are all the same, it wouldn't be fun. That's quadruple. If you double the length. You're right! Math! Yay! Because, yeah, Todd, as I'm saying that, I'm like, it was not just 2 of these, it was many more. It's quad, you're right. Almost exactly quad. Did I get the city one done? The city one. Well, wait, that's the 30 by 40. There was a city in it. I constantly think of it as the mountain one, but that is a city one. Yes, that was the one that I was referencing earlier. If you can paint it slowly, you can paint it quickly. I don't think I get the reference. It's still kind of a smart quote, though. If you can paint it slowly, you can paint it quickly, I guess. Kinda. It is a crazy size when you think about it 4 times, as Todd said. Todd is right. My math was wrong. I'll start painting more again because I miss it. I think I forget how relaxing it is. Yeah, it's true. I was just talking to someone about this today. Thinking more of like the process and just the idea of like setting something up and disconnecting for a bit. And even if you don't have an end product, it's just like the idea of like using your hands to make something. So important. Okay, I think that was enough time there just to make sure everyone's good. For the veins of the orange leaf, I kind of switch it up. Instead of doing a darker color, I switch to a lighter color. So I now have my medium round brush, which I've washed off. And I'm making a light yellow instead. So I'm using yellow and adding a little white. It's almost like we went the exact opposite here. Not exact, but close. Light yellow, and I'm doing the exact same thing as down here. I'm going to do some little veins that start just like our little bones did. So the nice long lines from the very bottom here going up towards the middle tip. Da, 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 da. Middle tip. Not doing a good job at really separating them. Let me do the whole lift off the canvas thing. There we go. Lift off and on. Break them up a little bit. Get some more kind of jetting out from an angle here. If it helps to twist your canvas around to look at the leaf straight up and down again, totally do that. I'm just managing at this point. Oh, that was a little thick. That was a little thick. I'm just managing with the leaf twisted around at this point. And again, I encourage you, if you want to get more detail on these leaves, just pull up a little Google image search of leaves. Have a look. Try and point out things that add a little more detail. I think you'll just see more veins though, and maybe more like shadowing and stuff, more fancy little shadings. And then if you need to, you can go on top and mess things up again intentionally. Cover up some of those veins. Break them up a bit. These thick boys I'm gonna cover up there. Yep. And that way you still get the idea of those veins, but they're not as distinct. Wahoo. They are still pretty distinct, I see. Let me see if I can put some more work in. I'm just, once again, kind of tapping on top, rolling my brush around, purposefully messing them up a bit. Oh, I like that a bit better. These guys are still a little... Wahoo, that's good. I like that. Do 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 do. Did not realize that's awesome. Yeah, Tyrannosaurus. It's important. It's important to remember. Did you choose a name for it? I liked Lori's suggestion of ripple effect. I thought that was smart and clever. I'll probably go with that unless I think of another good one. I do have one more step, everybody, in case you're wondering. It's a very minor step, but I think it's important to really kind of show the leaf resting on top. Maybe you notice what's happening, but here, see how the edges of the leaves are just their yellow or orange or red or whatnot? I found doing a little extra bit of either green or blue, both really, kind of helps show that the leaf is kind of resting in the water. It's almost like it's creating its own little ridge itself, right? Like when something's sitting in water, the water kind of rises up a bit. There's a very specific term for it. But yeah, it kind of like bubbles up a bit. It's creating a little bit of tension in the water, so you see a little bit more of a reflection of color there. So the very final step, while minor, I still think is important, is I take dark green, and I do, once again, kind of a broken outline. So I'm not doing a full outline of the entire leaf. I'm just taking green, adding it in small sections around. And then you can do the same thing with a little bit of blue. Just adding it a little around. It creates, again, that little like tension surface there of the leaf resting, rather than making it look like it's just pasted on top, which is what it kind of looks like right now. So I'm whipping out the teeny tiny brush for this one, the small detail brush. You don't need a lot of paint, so even if you have just a small amount of green left, you can use that. And here's the difference it'll make. I'm just going to go around, as I described, kind of like a broken up line. I did a nice thick one there, but then I'll leave it a little bit. Maybe I'll go over here. Outline the little stem a bit. Maybe there's someone in chat who knows the term I'm thinking of. And it gives you another chance, honestly, to shape your leaf up a little nicer, like I was describing before, how you can really get all those little points in there. This is a good opportunity to do that. With this green, you can really kind of chop into the yellow and fix up that that outline and that shape. You can really see those little edges come through now. See? I'm gonna do the same thing on the other one. Then we'll do some blue. Anne-Marie, if you're all done, no worries at all. Happy to do it. I know these happen less and less often. It's just because I'm busy with other things now, and I am always thinking of them. I'm always every time I think discover something myself, I'm like, how can I teach others? So just know that even though I'm busy with other things, it kind of helps me with these. I think it helps me honestly produce better designs to teach people, better techniques to teach people. It all works together, which is nice. So I'm glad you're still enjoying it. Again, breaking them up. I'm not going all the way around. I don't want like a big border. Just little pieces. Okay, and I'll do the same thing with blue. It's from a violin channel. Just because you play a piece doesn't mean you should play it quickly. Ah, I see. I think it's important to remember the process is an important part, not the final product. Absolutely. Yeah, I had as I said earlier, I had a bigger conversation with someone about that too. It's the act of like making time for yourself. You called it self-care. I would totally agree. It really is something that can be just for you, and especially if you're not thinking about the end product. You know, not thinking about the idea of showing it off to somebody or posting it to socials. Just literally the act of creating is so, so valuable. Okay, so again, I'm doing the same thing with blue. I'm either going in spaces where I didn't put green or I'm going outside of the green, just to be clear. So I'm trying not to overlap, but I can still go where the green is. I'm going on the outside of the green or just on the outside hugging the leaf. So I'm trying not to mix the two together. And there will be points on the leaf where you don't notice this because maybe you're like painting in a blue area, but again, it's still important to do because you might still see that like direction of the brushstroke either way. Let's go in here. It'll be clear in here. Yeah, there we go. Better. Then some blue up here. Anyway, I'm so glad you're all echoing these sentiments. Like, I don't even have to say them anymore. You all just know, which is so lovely. I've taught you well, or you've been taught well by somebody else. And I'll keep saying them because they're all so true and we need to all be reminded sometimes, including me. Last little bit. Wahoo! Yay! All done. That's the toot. I'm going to sign my painting, as I always say as well. Important to sign. Be proud of your work, even though we just discussed the idea of not caring about the final product. But when you're proud, you should be proud and you should sign it. Whee! And my theory is once you sign it, it kind of like forces you to say it's complete, you know? Because sometimes that's hard as well. Yay! Wahoo! If there are any questions, I'm here for a bit. I can answer some questions. Otherwise, I'll do a quick little wrap up for YouTube. YouTube, thank you for joining me. If you heard me talking to somebody that you didn't know was on the other side, it's because I'm talking to my live Twitch chat. If you'd like to watch me live the next time I do one of these things, I recommend checking me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/erinbunpaints. I'm on pretty much all the socials under the exact same name on Instagram, on Facebook, YouTube, of course, you're already here. Look me up any of those places if you'd like, and I'm easily reachable in any of those spots, and you can kind of keep up to date with what I'm doing. Speaking of what I'm doing, I've been talking a little about it throughout the tutorial, but I'm kind of shifting more into the independent artist zone, so I'm doing some custom commissions, one of which I was talking about continuously throughout this tutorial, but I'm always taking commission requests. I have a queue at this point, which is so exciting. But yeah, feel free to reach out to me or check out my website, erinbunpaints.com, for more information on those for ordering custom acrylic paintings made by me. Sometimes I even just make my own paintings and sell them, which again are all on my website, erinbunpaints.com. So if you're interested in that, feel free to check them out. If you're looking for more step-by-step tutorials, as I kind of mentioned, I don't do them as much anymore, but I still fully intend to continue them. I love the idea of making basic artistic resources free like this for people to enjoy at home. So trust me when I say I still want to keep that up. You just might not see them as much, but best way to keep track of those is just subscribing to the YouTube channel, as maybe you've already done, or follow me on socials and kind of keeping eyes out for when I announce another tutorial date. Otherwise, if you like just watching me, maybe you just kind of liked hearing me talk and watching me paint and learning a little bit rather than like a structured process, I stream on Twitch 3 times a week at this point. 2 times a week I do art of some form, whether it's painting, whether it's bullet journaling, digital art. I'm experimenting with different kinds of paints at this point. I'm trying out gouache paints. I will do oil paint soon. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. PST is currently what I do, but you can check the schedule by visiting my Twitch channel. And then Sundays, I'll pop online and do some fun gaming. That's why I was referencing Stardew Valley. That's a current game I am playing. But yeah, any of those streams, you have the ability to chat with me live. I think it's so cool to be able to do that. So yeah, if that interests you, check that out. Otherwise, I'll see you when I see ya. Thanks for painting with me. Have a great rest of your night or day or morning or wherever you're viewing me, whenever you're viewing me. Okay, bye!